welcome to Ignite, session 6, sell your listing. So let me ask you a question. How was your session on Wednesday?
It was good. Was that Mark? Yeah. John Silva? That was great.
Yes, yeah. With the appraiser.
Loved it.
Yeah, how did it go? Give me some ahas.
Actually I didn't realize that there were 3 types of appraisers.
Okay.
So that had different certifications, and if one comes to do the appraisal of your house and is not certified to do that type of property, you're in trouble.
Right, right. What else did we get?
He reminded us of the follow-up and then sending those business cards, the card thank you notes to the people that we met. And so that was a really great reminder to me. So this morning I did something else, but I sent an email to all my contact database.
Okay.
About coronavirus, whatever.
Sure.
And how it's affecting the housing market.
Uh-huh.
So I get an email response from one of them and said, this is an 000 lead. And he said, Maria, I'm getting ready to sell my house next month.
Great. Yeah. Good job. So, I love it. So here's the thing. Are you going to implement note writing?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Because nothing takes the place of that handwritten note. That you took the time and the thought and actually put pen to paper, because nowadays everything we do is so digital, right? So that handwritten note is very special. So that's great. That's an awesome, not only an aha, but a victory too around it.
I've started writing notes again. I think I wrote a couple in the beginning, but now I do it every time I set an appointment.
Yes.
So
hang up the phone, grab a note card.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I just wrote one already this morning because I just set an appointment for Monday.
Anything else? Any other ahas?
Yeah, the difference in when we're doing we all did CMAs on different properties.
Mm-hmm.
A group of us, 2 people did one property and the rest of us did another property. And the difference in calculation on these CMAs was pretty interesting. Was there a broad difference, a big difference? With some of them, and what that came down to is originally, I think with our property, it was an address that we got from Suhaili, and originally with that property, we didn't know that there was an add-on, and it didn't say on the MLS that there was an add-on, but it's not an unpermitted room that was added on, which changes the value, as well as that's kind of what happened with them as well. They found out that there was an extra however many square feet on the property.
Gotcha.
And so when we found out the update, it changed our price drastically. And even from our price to I think their price was pretty close. And I'm trying to remember who was sitting here, but they were all pretty close. But there was probably about, I think, a spectrum of like $20,000.
Right. Right. So what do you think?
Or 10 to 15 perception. And then also too.
What else do you think causes that? Sorry, Nico. I want to go there for a minute. What else do you think causes the discrepancy?
The properties
15
that you
to
pick.
20,000. Huh?
The properties you pick for your
properties you pick. Okay, so you don't pick it. The customer called and said, "I want to sell my house." So why do you think there were? Oh, the comparables that you pick?
The comparables that you choose.
Okay.
Can have an effect on it.
For sure.
Actually, if you go to title, you'll have a certain square footage, number of bedrooms and things like that. But when, I think there was one that, when we went to the expired, there were 2 expired, and it was that same property. It showed at the time that it was a 4 bedrooms instead of a 3.
Yeah. So that can happen. All right. So discrepancies on information can happen. Okay. So it's actually kind of a simple. Well, all of those are true. another reason, and that other reason is that every area, for like keeping it simplistic, we would call that a market segment, right? So across the street, across Rancho Vista Boulevard and these Beezer homes over here, that's a market segment. Because you have not only, and inside that segment is another segment. You have a segment of houses that were built in the 1960s, and then you have houses that were built in 2009, the Beezer homes right behind it, and then you go across the desert and you have houses that were built in the 70s and the 80s. Okay? So that's a different market segment. And then you cross the street, you cross 15th, or Summerwind, I guess it is when you go that way. You cross the street that way, and that's another market segment. Right? So within each one of those market segments, you have a bracket, a price range, a bracket. So that's why you saw a just $20,000 discrepancy, because there are some. So coming up with a price on a home as a realtor is both a science and an art. It's both. There's definitely a scientific piece to it, the number, and then there's also the finesse of the art of getting it priced correctly within that bracket to have your home sell at the highest price before the others to meet your client's goal, right? There's a difference. It's not just only a scientific approach that says the only price point that can be put on this house is $472,186. Would you agree? There's no scientific approach that says that has to be the price.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is funny, I saw
It comes up between, we can get somewhere in the 460s to the 480s. 480s would be really top, right? And then, but in that, would we use the art, right? We would use the gut, we would use more science and art together as we look through the active properties. What's our competition? Okay, what's pending? What's gonna close to affect our value? Right, all those things go in, and then we might select, okay, the property is in superb condition. It's the most beautiful thing on the block. All right, we go to 485, right? We go to the very top. Okay, the property is outdated and needs some help, but it's clean. Okay, so we go to 469.9.
That was
Right?
the biggest thing too, is that we don't have any pictures of the inside. We don't know
Yeah.
what it looks. We didn't know what it looked like on the inside.
Yeah, so it's both a science and an art. The science gets you narrowed in to the bracket, if you will, and then it's sort of the art and the science working together to help massage that number so you get the most money for your client in the least amount of time to help them accomplish their goal, right? Anything else? Any other ahas?
I just wanted to ask, where can I find more information on how to do a CMA? I do know how to do CMA from just one way, but I'm sure there might be other ways that I like to know more so I can be more effective in.
Did you guys go through CMAs on Wednesday?
Yes.
Were you here Wednesday? Did you go through that with them on Wednesday?
Last Wednesday.
Just this Wednesday, 2 days
Yeah.
ago.
Were you able to sit through that? Was that helpful? Or do you want more ways?
Yeah, I wanted more.
More.
Because what happened is that I'm finding homes that are kind of unique, and I don't find very similar comparables, half mile, 2 mile, 2 mile. And that's my struggle.
Okay, so whenever we have a unique property and we want to maximize the dollar for the seller, what can we do besides a CMA?
You have the RPR?
Huh?
The RPR?
History.
You could use RPR, but RPR is not going to be very helpful because it's not going to take into consideration the uniqueness of the property. There's no human behind RPR to say, oh, this is a dome home, for example. How the heck do you do a CMA on a dome home?
Then maybe looking for, well, you say you don't have similar, but I mean in terms of age and architectural, going a little bit further out of the area?
A little bit further out, a little bit further back in time,
Would you
right?
would you go and and find the nearest properties, figure out where the properties were, let's say, in a few years back, how much they've gone up, and maybe use that if the house was previously sold to see how much it's
So
gone
let me
up.
tell you what I've done in the past. I've called an appraiser. And I've done two things. I've called the appraiser, and the appraiser feels comfortable to trust me to give me his opinion to help vector me in, right? Because in that way I'm getting firsthand from the guy, he may not be the one to get the appraisal order, but from somebody who thinks like him at least, on exactly where I'm going, right? Like, so I'm on the right track with how an appraiser is going to address it and how they're gonna think, right? If I can't get an appraiser to tell me that, then I would recommend to my seller to hire an appraiser to do an official appraisal on the property, and then I would use that in my marketing. As this unique property, it's $479.9, and we have an appraisal on the property to show value, right? That would help any buyer that might, because by the way, if you're having a difficult time in discerning value, might your buyers be struggling with the same thing? And buyers agents, and then the opinions are probably gonna be varying, because when you're on the buyer's side, you want things to be lower. When you're on the seller's side, you want things to be higher, and and everybody's got an opinion, and they don't ever match, and so it'd be real easy to just, end up in an argument all the time trying to, so hire an appraiser and have them go out there and then market it as such, and then nobody can argue with you.
Because they have to appraise it anyways, right?
They gotta
So what's
appraise it
the-
anyway, yeah. Now, you can't use the appraisal, like, the borrower is gonna have to pay for another appraisal, because the company won't accept it. But at least you can justify your price point. And it also eliminates any argument or objection from the seller. Because if you have a property that is unique, a seller is likely going to think it's worth more than it is, because it's unique. So to them, that unique value is worth a couple $100,000, right? And to the rest of the world, it's probably worth less because it's unique. Until they own it, now all of a sudden it's worth more, right? That's just typical human behavior. So that's how I've handled things like that in the past. In the commercial world, hi Joy.
Hi, Joy.
In the commercial world, I don't know if I have any more.
Are those up there?
In the commercial world of life, sometimes I run into that where I don't have enough comps, and I can't give my client an accurate picture of what the property is worth. So this happened very recently. So I called a commercial appraiser, and in fact it was the gentleman who spoke to you on Wednesday.
Oh.
So I called Daryl and I say, Daryl, can you help me on this project? He knows Ridgecrest quite well, so he says, sure. So I send him the APN and the address, and he looks it up, and he calls me, and he gives me this beautiful thing I can present to my seller at no cost.
Oh, cool.
Right? And so now I have a price, and I have reasoning.
And if they want to sell it for more, then say, well, it's going to sit there.
And now it's what I thought, but what I thought was purely coming from 20 years experience, and I had no scientific backing to back me up other than tell my client it's my gut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was $15,000 off. Like,
Higher or lower?
huh?
Higher or lower?
I was $15,000 high.
Well,
Did you do your homework from Wednesday?
Yes, sir.
Good. So what was it? Tell me what you did.
You're talking about the 10-4?
Yeah, did you do your homework?
Yeah.
Tell me what you did.
I called, I made contact with 13 people.
Good.
I entered, I didn't enter 10 new people. I entered 5 or 4. Where's my numbers? I'll tell you right now.
Alright.
So 5 to 4, I sent out three cards.
Okay.
And then, hold on 1 second, I'm finding my numbers.
Where the heck is the clicker?
Click, click.
Isn't it here in front of your cup?
That's a remote control to the television set.
Goals, seller
Table
docs,
by
success tracker. Boom, baby. All right, so Wednesday.
I didn't understand that.
I wasn't asking you.
Oh, wow.
So Wednesday, I did not enter any new contacts, but I made contact with 15 people, and I said,
What stopped you from entering contacts?
I didn't meet anybody new, and I didn't take the time to do that. I had an appointment on Wednesday. Look at this. I had 2 appointments on Wednesday. One of them canceled and rescheduled for Thursday, which was yesterday, and the other one I ended up meeting with later on around 6. So the first one canceled at 3:30, and the last one canceled at. I was waiting for my appointment at the last one came at 5 o'clock, and then had an appointment Thursday. So there was 1 appointment held. Hold on, my number.
Alright, so you made the contacts. Did you go out and look at houses?
Just on the MLS, not on. I didn't go out and physically look.
Have
at
you looked at
houses.
any houses? Have you been out in the truck looking at any houses this week?
Yes, I looked at 3 houses this week.
Alright, how many should you look at every week?
4.
10. 10 houses a week. Physically, right? Know your inventory. So 10 houses a day on the MLS, 10 houses a week out and about in your car, opening up locks, opening up doors. Yeah, did you do it, JB? Where's your book? You don't have a book.
Couldn't find it this morning. It was in my car. So I had five physical viewings. I look at the hot sheet every morning, so however many that is. I sent out 60 notes at the beginning of the week, and then yesterday I sent out 3 just thank you cards. No new contacts added, and just talked to my sphere of influence a little bit.
Nice! Talk to the sphere of influence. That's what I like to hear. Sorry, I get excited when we talk about sphere of influence.
That's hard.
Why do I get excited when we talk about the sphere of influence?
Nobody does it.
I talked to 4 sphere of influence,
Mike wants to get on the bandwagon.
and I gave them all a seller's guide
Okay,
booklet with some information in it.
okay,
And I added 3 new contacts. I was on the MLS, looked up 20 houses. I physically seen 3.
okay, good,
I'm working a little harder
Okay.
at it.
good,
Oh,
alright,
sorry.
so what can we do to get out to see 10 houses?
Schedule.
Yeah.
And the week is not done, it's only Friday day. You've got the rest of today and tomorrow.
Is it 10 houses a week or 10 houses a day?
10 houses a day on the MLS,
So
so on the computer, that's easy to do. Look at the hot sheet like JB does,
I did
that's
that.
easy.
The hot
And then
yeah.
get in the truck and drive around and see 10 houses
for the day, physically.
for the week.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, so that's 2 a day.
2 a day.
2 a day.
2 a day,
Yeah.
5 days a week, you know, or you can do it half on Thursday and half on Saturday or Friday, whatever you wanna do, I don't care.
Okay.
Just get out and look at houses.
And my excuse is I need to get something on social media.
By the way,
I
thanks for saying that it's an excuse, I
Yeah.
like it.
I need to get an excuse to get out to these houses.
Mhm.
I'm not showing them to anybody, so I need to get value for myself. So what I do is I practice taking videos of myself getting a virtual tour, and then just post it. So I have something to show, I guess,
There you go.
for myself.
I like it, that's good, okay. So, super important that we're in this activity every day because productivity really does breed productivity. And if you are in the business of being in the business and you're doing the activity of the business,
Yeah.
guess what will end up happening?
With the business.
By the law of attraction, you will end up, by the way, try this. Do you realize how powerful your mind is? We talked about this yesterday during Win the Seller, in the class Win the Seller. But your mindset, your mind is so powerful that imagine what it would look like if you went into Vaughn's, instead of having the mind of, I'm going to get in and I'm going to get the eggs, I'm going to get the milk, I'm going to get the Michelob Ultra, I'm going to get the whatever, right? If you went in with, I am going to run into at least 2 people and have a conversation around real estate. What if your mindset was that? You would be so surprised at how many people you ended up having a conversation with.
You usually talk to somebody in there and say hi or excuse me.
Usually, those of us who are in real estate are usually have the personality type that we talk to people. So it's pretty rare that we would go in and not have a conversation, right? It's incredible at the gas pump. It's a switch of the mind.
Yeah.
How are we approaching our everyday life? When you are out in the world, when you are out in the community, you are in business.
Absolutely.
And you're representing your brand.
Right.
And when you're out there, when you have that mindset and you're constantly ingrained, so when you're out looking at houses every day, and you're in the MLS looking at 10 houses a day, and you're practicing doing a listing presentation in front of your sphere of influence once a week, and you're in it, and you're immersed in it, it becomes a part of who you are, and before you know it, when you're in Vaughn's, you're having a conversation, and one day you'll think to yourself, oh my gosh, I'm doing it. Right? Because it becomes a part. Now, as you get busy, and you allow that momentum to continue, and naturally it becomes a part of who you are, and it's easy to have those conversations. It becomes a very natural. We have to build the habit, and you build the habit by turning on the mind. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go into Vaughn's. I'm going into Vaughn's anyway. I may as well come out with 2 contacts.
Right.
I'm going into Lowe's anyway, and rather than running into Lowe's to get the bolt that I forgot, I'm gonna walk around the store. I'm gonna spend a half an hour, and I'm gonna come out with at least a contact. I used to call it I didn't coin this phrase. I got it from a coach, but the mayor campaign is what that's called. And I was very successful with that. I would, whenever I wanted some new contacts, I would go to, we didn't have a Lowe's in Ridgecrest, we'd go to Home Depot. That was the place, that's the hangout. Especially on a Flex Friday, when the government is off work, and everybody's working on their house. And I would say, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna get 5 contacts, and I would spend a couple of hours at Home Depot, walking around with the intention. And you'd be surprised. And I would generally, not every single time, sometimes the conversation's not flowing, sometimes I think I'm on, but I'm not.
Yeah, I have that scheduled today because I just moved, so I'm gonna go knock on my neighbor's doors,
Yeah.
and introduce myself.
Yeah, I'm the new name. Yeah, for sure. All right, session 6, we're on page 5, the expectations for today. Discover the techniques for and advantages of staging a listing to get it sold. We're going to talk about staging today. We're going to talk about the 14-point marketing plan today. We're going to talk about the essentials to great service for sellers today. And we're going to study strategies and tips for great communication with our sellers. So that's what's on the agenda today. Again, I turn you to page 9 where it talks about handwritten notes. It's an awesome deal, I'm telling you.
You generate your business.
All right, get your head in the game.
We're on section 6, right?
Session 6, page 11.
I'll face it now.
Get your head in the game.
So back to the daily thing, if you don't mind.
No, I can't. I've already gone by. No, I'm just kidding.
10 new contacts a day. Is that what we need to be doing?
That's the point of Ignite. The point of Ignite is that you're going to have 200 contacts by the end of the class, if you will. And that is 12 sessions, and it's 4 weeks. And so that's 200 contacts. So that's 10 a day.
And how do we go about doing those? Just talking to people like you said, calling on the phone?
So you're going to find the lead gen levers that are most comfortable to you. What is a lead gen lever? Give me an example of a lead gen lever. Were you not here for session 1?
No.
Okay. Was anybody here for session 1 of Ignite? Okay. So what do they talk about? Because that's the one where they talk about build your business. And then session 2 says find your business. So those 2 sessions dive deep into what lead gen levers are and what to do. So tell me, for those of you who were here,
Like sphere of influence, cold calling,
sphere of influence, cold calling,
door knocking,
door knocking,
farming.
farming. Farming and door knocking can be similar, so be careful with the generalization of farming.
Passing out flyers, meeting people at the store.
Open houses.
Open houses, right.
So sphere of influence is part of that?
Sphere of influence is absolutely 1000%
Right.
yes. Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, yes. I couldn't be more, I'm so passionate about sphere of influence,
Yeah,
I
me
can't
too.
tell you.
Yep.
It is overlooked by most. And if you want a sustainable business, Gary Keller says, tomorrow's business is better than today's business. And you know where that comes from? The context in which that comes from? Cultivating and nurturing your sphere of influence.
Right.
So many real estate agents try to make this business so complicated, and it's actually a very simple business.
Just takes time.
It's very simple. Very simple. Not necessarily easy all the time. There is a difference between something being simple and something being easy. It's simple.
Where did I see that?
I don't know. I say it.
I swear it was.
I say it all the time. It's like if I had a drum and I could just drum that all the time. That's what
It's
I
right
would
there.
do.
Success is simple, not
There you
easy.
go.
Sorry, I missed it. From the people who were here for the first class, who can clearly define what sphere of influence is?
Sphere of influence?
Yeah.
What's the sphere of influence?
All the people on your phone book,
That's what I thought.
all your friends, family.
People who know, like, and trust you.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And then you rate them based on how well they know, like, and trust you.
Oh, okay.
Right? So the people who have known you for 20 years and who know who you are by the car you drive when you drive by, right? They're A. I mean, those people know you, right? But the people who you went to high school with, who you've lost touch with, they know you. They probably liked you then. They probably trusted you then. We don't know if they do now, right?
Do you think the sphere of influence has to be in your locale?
No.
Even the people out
I
of
don't
state?
care if they're in Maine or Florida or Indiana or Kentucky or don't be in Tennessee or Texas. My brother wants to move to Cookeville, Texas.
Oh, wow.
Do you know where the tornado touched down? Cookeville, Texas.
Oh, jeez.
Some friends of ours' cousin lost their whole family
Oh, man.
in Cookeville
From a tornado.
from a tornado in the middle of the night.
Oh, listen.
Cat 5
Oh, geez.
on the ground for an hour, they say.
Oh, wow.
Tornadoes scared the shit out of me.
That's like Oklahoma.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to.
Yeah, I went over to Oklahoma, man.
The premium of living in California looks pretty good right now.
Earthquakes.
And they're afraid of they're scared of earthquakes.
Yeah.
They're like, no, we couldn't do it. I'll take my tornado. I was like, you guys are crazy.
I'll take my earthquakes all day long and twice
On
on
Sunday.
Sunday. So,
I have a
yes.
question. So when you say contact, are these people that we just kind of ran into and we happen to,
What's a contact?
do we need their?
Anybody we contact with, We talked.
What's the definition of a contact in the real estate business?
Get their
Somebody to
information.
talk to?
Get their information.
It has to be like we have at least their name.
At
phone
least
number,
one piece of
address.
contact information.
Oh, okay, so not the whole thing. 'Cause
Their
he-
name and
I
their
mean,
phone
the
number.
goal, Joy, would be to get the whole thing, right? But in order to consider a contact, let's say you run into somebody at Vaughn's, and you end up catching a conversation, and you ask the question that I teach you to ask, which is what?
Do you have a realtor that shows?
If you had a friend, or a family member, or somebody that maybe you go to work with, or maybe you go to church with, that was looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, let me ask you, Nico, do you already have a realtor that you'd refer them to? That question, when you ask that question and you get a no, and then you follow it up with, great, I would love the opportunity to earn the right to be that realtor of choice for you. And you go into your script and they say yes, and then you get your phone out and you go, what is your best phone number?
So
Right? It may sometimes, depending on how it's flowing, because I've had situations where I'm in line at the grocery store and I can't get address, phone number, email. So I go for the one I think I can get. And then when I call, I say, by the way, Joy, I didn't get your best email when we were talking at Vaughn's. And I like to send some information from time to time through email. What's your best email address? Did I ask, would you like to give me your email address?
No.
I said, what is your best email address?
Assume you are already.
I'm assuming that you have no reservations and that we have a kindred relationship and you're going to give me the info.
You already have her phone number.
I already got the phone number.
I just got off the phone with somebody I've never talked to ever in my life.
Now, if I'm in the ice cream aisle and we're chatting and the conversation continues, then I might say, well, while I've got you, why don't I get your best email address while I'm here? And then here, why don't I share with you my app? So now you'll have my contact information. And you can look for houses, pardon me. And perhaps even, if you're looking at maybe refinancing your home or buying a home in the future and you want to get pre-qualified, you can do that from the app, or you can just see what's going on in your area, whatever. But here, let me go ahead and send that to you. Right?
how
So
does-
that's a contact.
How does a refinance?
We'll get there.
Oh,
We'll get there. Your Keller Williams app, because we are connected to Keller Mortgage. So that's just another way to come from contribution. Remember yesterday we talked about coming from contribution? So when you can offer your client a 0 loan and $1,000 back at closing, you're coming from a place of contribution. You're not making any money on it, but that's not what it's about.
yeah.
Yeah? We good? All right, we better get to session 6 or we won't ever get there and we'll be stuck.
Get your head in the game.
Yeah. Did we answer your question, Mike?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sphere of influence, open houses, cold calling, door knocking, farm, pick your lead gen levers. At least 3, a minimum of 3. Everybody should have at least 3 lead gen levers that you're using in your business.
When you say open house, you don't like go to open house to visit, but
Host.
host it, right?
Host it, and 5th level.
Oh, okay.
A second level open house does not count as lead generation. Do you know that? Okay, so we're going to talk about open houses today.
I didn't-
So we'll go into more detail on the 7th level open house and why you should be doing at least the 5th level. Okay? Get your head in the game. All right, get the listing sold by attracting buyers to the listing. Do the job well and you will also generate additional buyers who will buy other listings and sellers who will see you as an effective listing agent. So why do we like to focus on listings?
Because listings will bring in buyers.
Because they're leverage. Somebody read the what's it called? MREA book. Say that 10 times. The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, right? It's It's one of the deals in the triangle. We talked about this yesterday during our win with the sellers deal, right?
Yep.
It's leads, listings, leverage. All right. What is a fiduciary?
Money, relationship.
It's a relationship. What kind of relationship?
It's a professional relationship.
Not monetary.
Trust.
Has nothing to do with money.
Professional
Best
relationship
interest
based on
of the
trust and, ethics.
Yes. Those adjectives. Trust, honesty, integrity, loyalty, putting their interest above your own, always thinking about their best interest. It has absolutely, I want to be clear, nothing to do with money. Nothing to do with money. Money could not transfer hands, and you can still lose your license for breaching the fiduciary relationship. Are you with me? Yeah, money has nothing to do with the fiduciary. Your fiduciary relationship means that you will look out for your client's best interest above your own and above anybody else, and you'll always look out for them. You'll be loyal to them, you'll be honest with them, there'll be trust in the relationship, right? Does it say anything about being confidential? No, it does not. There's nothing in the fiduciary that says confidentiality. Now, here's where because there's a mistake, that there's oftentimes a myth around this. Confidentiality absolutely can be a byproduct of all those adjectives that we listed, correct?
Yes.
When your client trusts you, when you have to be loyal to them, when there's all of that stuff, when you're looking out for them, it may mean you have a gag order. Sometimes letting the cat out of the bag is in their best interest when they give you permission. Right?
Right.
Make sense? Do you see the difference? I had an agent for 7 years not know that there was, that confidentiality was not a piece of that. That, we're not bound by confidentiality with our client. We're bound by all those other things that the byproduct could mean we have to keep it confidential. But it doesn't mean the law says you have to keep it confidential. No. Sometimes it's in the best interest. What would be an example of when it would be in our client's best interest to not keep something confidential?
Maybe a death in the home, they want to keep it under wraps, and you have to disclose it.
I mean, we have to disclose it, so we'd have to advise them or not take the listing.
Maybe that they're going to be moving, they need to move right away, but you don't want the buyer to realize that because they can come down.
So that I would want to keep confidential, because I wouldn't want the buyer to know that they're moving and they need to move right away, because that could affect the purchase price.
Right.
But what is an example of something I wouldn't want to keep confidential necessarily? How about I have multiple offers on the property and I want to drive the price up for the benefit of my seller?
Yeah,
Is it okay for me to tell Maria what Claire's offer is?
No?
Who said?
You can say I got a full price offer, for example, or above.
Why can I say that? Why can't I say I have an offer at $4.99?
If you got multiple offers and you want to generate more offers, you can tell
Yeah.
an offeree, hey, we have another person who came in with this price and the seller is more likely to go with that, to create a greater frenzy on.
Nothing says you can't. There's no. You don't. If Kenny at Remax gives me an offer on Claire's listing, and then somebody from Century 21 gives me an offer on Claire's listing, nothing stops me from going back to Kenny and saying, "Hey, Century 21 just gave me an offer and it's $5,000 higher than you. What do you want to do? You want to go back to your buyer?" Now, what could stop me from doing that?
The seller?
The seller could say, I don't want it to be known. Yes. What else?
What do you mean? The seller says what?
The seller could tell me, I don't want you to do that.
Oh,
I don't want you doing that.
Okay.
I don't like how it feels, I don't want you to do it. By the way, it's happened to me. More than I can count on my fingers and toes, in fact. You'd be surprised at how many people actually feel that that doesn't feel right to them and they don't like it.
so
Of
they
course, I come from a town of
Oh.
passive people, so that's probably why, but it's true. People, I've had that many times they don't
So
want it.
that if they don't want you to do that, that means they just
You
wanna.
can't.
They just
That's your
wanna-
gag order.
But,
So just pick an offer then.
they just wanna choose from already existing offer and they don't want you to go and
But
choose.
it's not that they don't want me to go out, they don't want me to reveal the number.
Oh, I
You
see.
could say the
They're
highest
asking
and
me
best.
to not share it.
I
Give me
see.
the highest and best.
You mean the highest and best, right? So
Well,
that's
maybe-
how, by the way, that's how that's done, is the highest and best is usually because the agent doesn't know that they can drive up the price themselves by picking up the phone and saying, now as long as the seller's in the know,
Right,
you gotta keep your seller in the know. You can't be doing stuff,
on your own.
right, Lone Ranger, is that what it is? Rogue or whatever, like you can't be doing that. But you could call and say, there's nothing that says you can't do that. You don't have a fiduciary to Kenny at Remax or his buyer. You don't have a fiduciary with Century 21 or their buyer.
Right.
If you don't have any other offers, is it still, I mean, I guess it's a risk.
That would be misrepresentation. I know
Yeah,
where you're
it
going.
would- yeah.
To do highest and best on
If,
someone?
if you don't have more than one offer, you cannot say you have more than one offer. That's
No, not about that. No, the question was, if I wanted to, rather than say I have one offer, but I have one offer, but I want to counter say, give us your highest and best. That's generally something that you can still do even though you don't have other
You
offers.
can do that.
Yeah.
It's not effective, but you can do that. It wouldn't be effective if you don't have multiple offers. It would offend the buyer. The psychology behind that wouldn't be good.
Or would you say I
You
got
wanna do it.
3 or 4 buyers, what's your highest and best?
So, that's not my point. We're getting in the weeds, we're getting off track. Let's get back on track.
So, sorry. After, let's say, after I already sent, give me your highest and best, and they responded, can I go back to them and say, hey, so-and-so is offering this much, you wanna even go higher than that?
So, let's get the foundation set. Because I think if we set the foundation, the rest of these questions become answered. Yeah? Right? So here's the foundation. If you have a listing, okay, imagine right now, all of you have a listing, think about the listing. Think about the house you've got listed. And think about the person who owns that house. Who do you owe your fiduciary with?
To the seller.
Seller.
To that person, right? That house. An offer comes in. You want them to know about it right away, so you let them know right away, right? Now a second offer comes in. You want them to know about it right away, right? And who do you want to win the offer?
The one with the highest price.
The one with the best terms for your seller, right? Which
Yeah.
could be price, could be other things too, right? So what I'm saying is, inside of that structure, you're calling your seller and saying, okay, we have 2 offers, I'm gonna send them both to you now. Boom, you've got them, great. Okay, so here they are. So here's what I wanna do, seller, is I wanna call Kenny over at Remax and I wanna tell him what we've got from Century 21, and then I wanna call Century 21 and tell him what we've got from Remax, and I wanna try to drive this up another $10,000, what do you think? Okay, beautiful, all right, I'm on the phone with him now. Hey, Kenny. Hey, Century 21, right? And then I go back to the seller. Okay, so we gotta, here's what we're gonna do. They've got an addendum. Kenny's gonna write an addendum. He's gonna up his price. He's writing an addendum. He's increasing his price before we even get a counter offer out. Century 21's buyer wants to stay pat. And they're not gonna do anything. They're gonna wait to hear from us. Right? Are you with me? You're negotiating on behalf of your seller. Nothing says you have to keep that stuff confidential. So, Kenny gives me an addendum, upping the price by $5,000. That's all he did. I didn't counter him. I just made a phone call and just said, hey, you're losing by $2,000 to Century 21. What are you going to do? And he upped it. He didn't even wait. He upped it. His buyer really wanted to have it, so he upped it. Century 21 is holding. I could still counter both of them. I could still counter only Kenny and not Century 21. I could counter Century 21 and not Kenny. And by the way, I don't have to tell the other one what I did with the other one. I don't have to tell Kenny that I didn't counter Century 21. I just have to tell him that I have another offer. I don't have, so I would use the seller multiple counteroffer form, which discloses to him I have more than one offer. But it doesn't say that I have to tell him what it is, or that I can't tell him what it is. I would use my best discretion with my seller to determine whether or not I would or I would not say. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Now, I counter Century 21, and I don't counter Kenny. Century 21's people counter that counter that I just sent them, raising it another $2,000. So now I have matched offers. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Now I can send a counter to Kenny if I want. I can send another counter to both if I want. I can do whatever I want. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
How effective is that? How many times have you tossed back counters? It's normally just once or twice, right?
Oh, many. Yeah, no. I had one time that was 7. I think that's the most.
You guys kept going back and forth 7 times before the offer was accepted. Holy cow!
But that's rare, because that's what we're for. The agents are, usually there's a lot of, talking on the phone to iron things out before you, so you know what to do. But sometimes you have those people that don't use you the way they ought to, right? Meaning the client doesn't use you the way they ought to, so they withhold information, and then they're sort of negotiating with you as well as negotiating with the other client.
Now, sometimes before you decide to do the countering, you look at the terms and see which one would be the best, because sometimes
Yes,
it may not be worth.
the money is not always a thing.
The qualification,
All of it.
whatever.
Right. So, all that being said, in what instance would you not be able to say anything?
If you're a dual agent.
If you're a dual agent, you can't say anything. Because, again, you have loyalty and trust to both. So you can't rat one out to the other and the other one out to the other.
Does that count for the if it's dual agency under the brokerage as
Yes.
well? So if you have a
So
buyer and have a
if
listing,
Kenny brings us an offer and Maria brings us an offer,
you can't say shh.
I can't tell her, I can't rat Maria's client out to Kenny.
Yeah.
I can rat Kenny's client out to Maria.
Oh, you can.
Yeah, I don't have a fiduciary to Remax.
Oh, Kenny. I was saying.
So
You
you
were
can't,
thinking
you
like-
can't.
I was saying in the same brokerage.
Right, Maria's in my brokerage.
Yeah.
Kenny
Oh,
from
but
Remax
Kenny
is
from
not
Remax.
in
Got
my
it.
brokerage.
You were the middle agent there. Okay.
So in the dual agency, you,
Is with Scott Cooper.
so if 2 agents are with Keller Williams and you're,
Or if you are double ending the sale personally.
so you can't,
Oh, that's the same.
you can't
Yeah.
tell each one what the price is?
You can't disclose.
So let's say that I'm the listing agent, and Maria brings me an offer, and Clara brings me an offer. I can't wrap anything,
Can't say nothing.
because we are now dual agent. This office is now representing everybody in the transaction.
All you can state is the facts.
You can even say like, Maria, Claire's.
I can say that,
A
sure.
little higher,
Yeah.
but you can't say what it is, or,
No, I can say, hey, Maria, you may need to increase your offer if you want to be a contender. Hey, Clara, I told Maria that if she would have to increase her offer if she wanted to be a contender.
But he has to
So
let
just so
both
you
of them
know, you might want to let your client know, we got another one, And I did tell her that she, in order to be a contender, she may have to increase.
Gotcha, so you're letting them know.
Right, I'm
Everybody's in the loop.
Yeah,
right, nobody's getting special treatment.
Right.
My fiduciary is to everybody. Okay, that's complicated, we're getting way deep.
No, that was good though, thank
Yeah.
you. Answered a
Okay.
good question.
Anything else on that? I mean, since you're going there, do you have anything else on that? Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Here's the thing, be careful, you know, just use common sense and be careful, but just know that, the fiduciary is between you and the person you have the agreement with, right? You don't have to, nothing says you have to look out for the person, for the other company's client.
And if you don't
Now-
know it.
You do have to be fair, and you do have to be honest. You can't lie. You can't say you have more than one offer when you don't. You can't misrepresent the truth. So because you are a licensed realtor, you are still not allowed to mishandle or mistreat the other side. Make sense? But there's a difference between mistreating and mishandling, yeah, and keeping things, you know,
Yes, sir.
keep the negotiation
Yeah.
going. There's a difference between those two things.
Right. I think we're always confused because with contractors, when they give out bids, they're not able to tell the prices. In all the other bids, they don't tell each other
Yeah.
what that bid was or this bid.
They're
So
not
I
allowed.
was
They're-
thinking of that with
Correct.
the real estate.
Right, they're not allowed to do that. You know why? It's called price fixing.
Yeah,
Right. So we as real estate brokers are not allowed to do that either.
yeah,
So I'm not allowed to have a meeting with Coldwell Banker's broker
Prior to.
and Vaughn Realty's broker and Ridgecrest, right, and get us all together and say, so what do you charge for commission? All right, what do you charge for commission? Okay, well, we charge 6, so how about if we all agree we're not gonna go lower than 5.5? For the benefit of our business, right?
right,
It keeps it competitive. This is why we have, brokerages that do it for 1% or a flat fee or whatever, because there's no price fixing. So that's what's best for the consumer, is the competitive edge.
yeah. Yep,
But that's different
yeah, that's
than
it,
negotiating an offer on behalf of your client.
yeah,
You got me?
yep,
Okay. All right, so being the seller's fiduciary means servicing and marketing their home in the most effective way. There are 3 steps in the critical phase of your listing relationship with any seller. We're on page 12. Stage the property. Now, staging the property, okay, we're gonna get there in a sec. Market the listing. Communicate with the seller. How often should you communicate with your seller?
That's something that you have agreed upon.
Depends on what stage of the process you're in, but you should be doing it just about every day.
Twice a week. Twice a week. Monday morning, you're calling them with what?
The results of the open houses.
Results of the open house, the activity that happened over the weekend, the showings, that kind of stuff. Then you're calling them on Friday, and what are you saying on Friday? What are you talking about?
We're scheduling the open house.
What's going on during the week?
The market. It's a market update. By calling them on Friday and giving them a market update, you are paving the way for a price reduction if necessary, and or an offer that might come in. So if you're having to think about it, you're having a conversation on Friday that sounds a little bit like, so as we spoke in our listing agreement, in our listing appointment, when we first put the home on the market, I had given you my opinion that the home should be priced at $399.9, and of course, you know, we had conversation around that, Mr. Seller, and we decided to go at $415. And I just wanted you to know, these are the 4 homes that have sold this week. One sold at $406, one sold at $392, right? The other one sold at $388, the other one sold at $397. So I'm just letting you know that nothing at $415 has gone under contract, and these other 4 sold before us. So we may want to consider, now we're still getting action, The home is still being shown, I realize, but we may want to really consider bringing this thing down to $399 if we don't have a contract in the next 7 days.
That's where I'm at right now.
And that conversation, that dialogue, will go much easier in 7 days when we still don't have a contract, and we say, okay, Mr. Seller, it's time for us to have that conversation that neither one of us really wanted to have today. The one where we say, well, the market has spoken. Because this week, 5 more in our price range went under contract, and we weren't one of them. So if we wait any longer, Mr. Seller, I fear that my $399 recommendation is going to be more like $389. Because our listing is going to be going what we call stale on the market. That means that it's sitting too long and we're losing leverage every day that it sits. So I want to maximize how much you want to get out. So how about we just go ahead and reduce this price to $399 today so we can get you under contract and get you on to Idaho like you want to get there by June.
In that aspect, if there isn't a rush to sell because we're still trying to find another property.
There's always a rush.
Well, they need to locate it.
When your clients tell you there's no rush, by the way, I'm hearing you, Nico. I'm not trying to, I know where you're going. And here's the thing. There's never a story around it.
Got it.
Okay, that's why I'm cutting you off. The story doesn't matter. It's sales. And when you're trying to sell a piece of real estate, you have a window. You have a marketing window before you begin to lose leverage. And it doesn't even matter what the seller's story is. It doesn't. It's totally irrelevant. There's a window. And if the house does not go under contract in that window, you are losing leverage. So if the seller is not ready, then the seller should not put their house on the market yet.
Got it. What's that window?
60 days. By the way, the market right now, as tight as it's getting, because right now we are really, really, really tight, I would say that you better have that thing under contract quicker than that. Because the buyers are now looking at it going, man, that's been on the market forever. Even though it's been on the market for 47 days, and the average days on market right now is 52. The perception to the buyer is that thing's been on forever because houses are truly doing this.
So the buyer's thinking there's something wrong with it, or it may be priced too
Something
high?
priced too high, something's wrong with it, wonder why nobody wants that. They must be getting tired of it sitting.
And that's
Let's offer 25 under. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So your best offer is usually the one that comes the first. Your
Right.
first offer is usually the best. According to the National Association of Realtors, your first offer is the best. I tell my sellers that in the listing, when we do the listing appointment, by the way. That's part of my presentation. Because I'm handling that objection up front, so I don't have to handle it later when the first offer comes in 2 days, and I'm at the kitchen table, and they're like, well, if the first one came in 2 days, let's see what else. That's a very likely response. But if I've already handled that in the listing appointment, when the first offer comes in 2 days, I've already given them warning by asking the question, would it be okay if I sold your home in 1 to 3 days? What? And then I asked, would it be okay if it went into contract in the first week or 2? Are you okay with that, Mr. Seller? If I brought you an offer in 6 days, would that panic you or enlighten you? What would it do? Well, I'd be ecstatic. Okay, perfect, because that might happen. And it might not. Like I said before, give me 60 days to get the house under contract. That's what I believe it's gonna. That's what I don't want to set false expectations, but I want you to know I don't have a crystal ball. We could get an offer in it tomorrow. I want to make sure you're okay with that if the offer does come tomorrow, because National Association of Realtors tells us that our first offer is our best. So if the one comes tomorrow, it's likely going to be our best. instead of handling that objection up front.
That's good.
You look like you had a question.
Has a thoughtful face.
So there's never a rush is my point. I mean, there's always a rush is my point.
Yeah.
And I don't really mean rush. I mean, you have a window. So if the by the way, if the seller has a house that they wanna go find in this market, you know what, Mr. Seller? It would be really awesome. It would be really awesome if we could do this with no inconvenience to you. It's just not likely. Selling a home and buying another home is inconvenient. It's not always convenient. There are 900 houses on the market today among all price ranges. We have more demand than we have supply. So here's what I recommend. Let's put the house on the market today. Let's get a buyer, let's get it into escrow, and let's begin shopping for a home. But I don't want you to feel rushed and make a wrong decision that you're gonna be regretting a month after you move into the house because it really wasn't the right one, but you felt rushed because you had a buyer trying to buy your home. And because there's so few homes, their selection is not very great right now. So let's do this. Let's put the house on the market today and get it under contract and begin shopping, but let's have a plan B of a place for you to move. Can we move in with mom? Can we move in with brother? Do we have an apartment we could get month to month and put the stuff in a pod? What could we do so that we can make this as smooth as we can for you, but be realistic and not push you? And that has worked for me almost 100% of the time over the years.
No conversation I'm getting.
I rarely let them sell their home contingent on them finding a replacement. I think I've done it twice my whole career.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I strongly urge. It's the same thing with somebody who wants to buy before they, like, if they want to,
They want to find a house before they.
like,
before they
I
sell.
just don't do it. I almost make it seem like it's not an option, to be quite frank, because what you're doing is you're messing up your own negotiation.
I always thought a lot of people did that because where does most
can still
people
get a
go to?
mortgage,
They
right?
usually buy a home when they sell the home.
Right, so either you buy it up front. So if that, by the way, what I just gave you was the example if they cannot buy before they sell. So in where I come from in Ridgecrest, people there have a lot of disposable income. Their ratios are usually in the 20s or low 30s. So they can afford 2 house payments. Typically, I would say more than half the time. So they just don't think they can do it. So that dialogue is really easy. What would you do if I told you that you could buy before you sold? And do you know the majority of the answer? You can do that?
As long as you got money.
Majority of the time. But here's the thing, conservative people don't think they have money, even when they do. By the way, an 800 credit score to a conservative person is, I'm barely hanging on to my credit. I'm doing everything I can to make sure that it stays good. It's not perfect. Seriously. To a conservatively minded, fiscally conservative minded person, that's the frame of mind. So, am I right, Mr. Conservative? Right? Like, it's true. Like, it's just the way it is. So, and I know that going in, and I know who they are, obviously. I can tell. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe we should call the lender, and we should just ask some questions, and perhaps you would qualify to buy, and see what the payment would be, and see what that looks like for your budget. And if you're not comfortable, we don't have to do it. And majority of the time, we end up buying and then putting the house up for sale.
I did that.
By the way, I move them out. So, I don't put the house up for sale till they're gone. I move them out. Move them into their new house, and then I come in, we put a fresh coat of paint, we stage it, take pictures, put them on the market, get it sold in a couple of 3 days. Done. And they don't usually have to make 2 house payments.
Then you get the commission for helping, being a buyer saving too.
Yep.
So you're being a buyer and.
Sold them the house, got the commission, listed their house, got the commission.
So the average person around here can't do that.
That might be a limiting belief. That might be a limiting belief. It may not be, Mike. I don't know the true answer. But I do know that you do have people in this area that have money. You do have high-paying jobs in this area.
So you wouldn't do the contingent on the sale? You would,
Not if I don't have to. See, here's the thing. Are you truly holding up to your client's fiduciary and doing what's best for them? Or are you buying into their story? Are you going to be a strong agent, or are you going to be a weak agent? I'm right?
Yes.
As a strong agent asks the questions and digs down deep and goes to the root of what they truly want, and then provides the very best avenue to get them there. I could buy into my client's story all the time, and then they have a headache, I have a headache, the buyer has it, everybody's got a headache. We're passing Tylenol everywhere because we let somebody who has no experience in selling and buying a home run the situation. They're not telling you, I want to sell and then buy because they know that's what's best. They're saying that because that's what they know. Are you with me?
Yeah, so as much as possible, you wanna always avoid contingencies
Yeah,
because they can break.
It messes up leverage.
Yeah.
It messes up leverage and it creates headaches all around.
Yeah.
Now, are there times in which you have to do it? Sure. But I don't do it unless I have to. I've got a listing coming up in Rialto next weekend. And when we put that house on the market next weekend, those folks are moving in with mom. Like, I preempted it. I give the whole speech about buying and then selling. They were gung-ho. They said yes. They thought about it for 3 or 4 days. Call me back. We're too uncomfortable with it. Okay, perfect. So then why don't we move in with mom? You brought that up initially as an option. Why don't we move in with mom and I'll put the house on the market, and then once the house sells, then we can go shopping. And that way you're not under pressure when you're shopping. And they said, okay. That sounds like a good plan, Drew. But what will we do with our stuff? Can we leave it in the garage? Sure. But for security purposes, I recommend not, since the house is going to be vacant. So why don't you get a pod and put it in mom's driveway? Or rent a storage unit month to month. Oh, that's a good idea. Okay, we'll call and get a storage unit. Okay, perfect. You see, all I had to do was ask the question.
You're coming up with all the options.
I'm coming up with solutions.
Because they don't have it, that's what you're.
They don't have it. They don't
Yeah.
know. They only know what they know.
Yeah.
And what they know is, I want to buy a new home. I don't want to live here anymore. I want to buy a new home. And I can't afford to, and they all think they cannot afford it. So they think I can't, so I gotta sell in order to buy. How do I do that? What order do I do it in? They don't even know that you can do it in any other order. So here we come along. Oh, you wanna buy and sell? Commission breath. Okay, I got 2 deals gonna happen. Okay, I got 2 deals. Okay, sign here for the listing. I gotta get the sign in the yard, the picture's going in on the email. Oh, and you wanna go shopping for a new house. Get in the car. Come on, get in the car. Let's go shop. I mean, really? How's that serving anybody? Are you with me?
Yeah.
And you told me you were gonna do it with the least amount of hassle.
Yeah. Right, it's gonna be, and by the way, I tell them, it's going to be inconvenient. You will be inconvenienced. You will not be happy during the whole process. But it'll all be worth it in the end when it's done. But buckle up. It's going to be like 3 months of uncomfort. It's going to be bumpy. You guys are going to get in each other's way at mom's house. sharing that one bathroom and those 2 bedrooms, it's gonna kinda stink. But think about how great it'll be when we get your new home, with the pool, and the jacuzzi, and you get moved in there, and then you got all the space you want. 3 months from now, we won't even remember all this happened.
Does Keller Williams have a staging company that they often work with?
So it's not Keller Williams, but there's some preferred providers,
Okay.
yes, that we can connect you with.
And what do? Do you do it yourself, or do you use?
My partner Michelle does it.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's what the staging?
Yeah. So there's 2 ways. You can hire a company to do it, or you can do it yourself, or you can have, somebody. Before my partner came along, my wife did it.
Are you guys using, is it,
We bought the stuff
you guys bought,
just over the years. So every time, we would. So initially, we would take things out of our house. So sometimes I would come home and the chair would be gone and the plant would be gone, and I would say, "Jamie, where was that?" She said, "Oh, I had to go stage Mojave Rose." Okay, guess we're not sitting down today, So that would happen, and then when that was closing, then she would go and she'd pick up some things, right? And then we use that, and then we just started building and building until we had a whole 3rd bay of our garage full of stuff. And then I hired my assistant, Michelle, who was my assistant at the time, and she worked her way into being my partner. When I hired her, then we leveraged that piece out to her, so that relieved Jamie, my wife, from having to go out and do it, and just go to the house, open up the garage, put the stuff in, go out, stage the house, then take pictures, right? And then now all the stuff's pretty much at Michelle's place, because it just kind of all just, right? So now her garage is full. And she buys stuff, almost every time we get, and then the more listings you get, the more oh, we're out of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So then you gotta go to the store and buy more stuff, right? Which is part of it. So it's just that piece of it, how entrenched do you want to get into that world? When I first started staging houses, I was only one of 2 agents in the entire city that did it.
Wow.
So we didn't have a company. There was no company. So either you did it yourself or you didn't do it. So I did it myself. Well, kind of. So it's up to you how you want to get. Probably at this point in time, it's probably better and cheaper and easier to leverage it out and hire somebody. It's probably better to hire a company. I don't think I would recommend having a 3rd bay of your garage all full of plants and trees and pictures and pillows, place settings, popcorn machines, bottles of wine, that kind of stuff. But it is the difference maker. In fact, if you turn the page to page 14, 32% of realtors report a 1 to 5% increase in the offer from staging. 16% of realtors report a 6 to 10% increase in the offer. And 3% of realtors report an 11 to 15% increase in the offer by staging the home.
It helps the buyer see how their furniture was.
It makes a huge impact. Now, do you always have to use your own stuff to stage a home?
No.
What are some things that you can do?
Use their stuff.
Use their stuff.
Just rearrange it.
Just
Rearrange it.
get rid of some of this?
Remove.
Staging does not always mean I'm bringing new things in and placing it. Staging, for example, the listing in Rialto, because they're moving in with mom and getting a storage unit, my wife is actually staging that house with her sister. So Jamie will go over next weekend and help them stage the house with their own stuff. So we will put the stuff into the moving truck that's going to go to the storage, and Jamie will rearrange the rest of the furniture, trees, plants, everything else the way that it needs to be done in order to put it on the market, right? And if something needs to be added, maybe we'll go buy something. I don't know.
Yeah, I went and viewed the house actually, and I was kind of confused because it was Antoinette's house here,
Yeah.
and she it was like half state or half there is stuff in it, but like not enough to be like somebody actually lives there. But like the TV was still there. There wasn't like an awkward space, and like the table was still there.
Yeah, what do you do in a vacant home like that?
Yeah.
That's my best, that's the favorite, right?
Yeah.
So when we
You gonna
talk
bring
about
in
staging,
couches and
when we talk about
tables and all that?
when we talk about staging, we don't mean that you need to go and fully furnish the house. That's
Okay.
not what we mean.
Okay,
We mean that we warm it up.
right,
So you warm it up with, the example would be on the bar. Let's say there is an island with a bar. On the bar would be some bar stools, if I had some available. If they were in another house, then I wouldn't mess with it, right? If the house was high-end, then I would go to a furniture store and I would, right? And I would, it depends, right? The answer is it depends.
right.
So I have made a deal with a furniture store in Ridgecrest. When I need furniture, then he gives me furniture. In fact, they deliver it and set it up for me.
Oh, wow.
And I put a sign on the countertop that says, staging furniture provided by Lowen's Furniture.
Oh, cool.
And their phone number, website, and email, right? So they get exposure.
And if the people really like it and want it, they can buy it.
They can buy it. I have made a deal with them where anybody who buys a Keller Williams listing gets a 15% discount on furniture with their, so then we have those coupons out next to the thing, right? So they get some exposure, right? I don't do that with every house because of a couple things. One, it's not necessary in this market because houses are flying off the shelf. And by the time the furniture guy came out, I'd have it under contract.
Right.
One, two, the furniture store doesn't have enough inventory to be able to have stuff on his floor, deliver furniture to his clients, and have it at my listings.
Right.
If I'm carrying 12 to 15 listings at a time, he doesn't have an inventory large enough to help me, him, and his clients,
Right.
right?
Yep.
So, that's one way to do it. So I might put some bar stools, but I would definitely put
So you just
placemats,
warm-
plates, a plant in the middle, maybe some flowers, a bottle of wine with 2 wine glasses. I would warm it up. In the bathrooms, you put towels over the towel holders, a soap container, a shower curtain up if one does not exist.
That looks good, yeah.
You know, just things
Yeah,
like
little-
this.
yeah.
Please, for the love of Pete, when you're taking pictures, close the toilet seat lid.
I've seen so
I think
many
I've heard that
of
somewhere
those.
too.
Even if you go to the open house, there is a little.
I don't get it. Okay.
And actually, I closed a few of those.
Does that help you with staging?
Go buy clothes.
Yes.
Do you want to go deeper?
No,
That was good, thank you, yeah, appreciate it.
Huh?
the marketing piece.
Market the listing. Put your listing on the buyer's radar screen, your 14-step marketing. So here is a 14-step marketing plan. Please understand that this material is older only by a couple of years, but technology is moving faster than anything. So some of these items we would want to replace with something else, okay? We don't delete anything, we replace, okay? So, number 1, price the home competitively. Let me ask you a question before we get going. What are the 3 things that sell a home?
Right price?
Price,
Location.
location, condition. Those are the 3 things that sell a home. What are the things that you have control over?
The price.
The price and the
The
condition.
price and
The condition.
the condition. You have control over that. So the price it correctly. And when we say correctly, we mean competitively. Condition it properly. And what do I mean by condition it properly? If the wall needs to be painted, paint it.
The front.
If the carpet needs to be changed, change it. Do not give an allowance. Change the carpet. For the love of Pete.
Why do you think we're keeping,
I don't think I know. Why do I know? I know that buyers' eyes, when they walk into a house and they see old carpet that's bunched up and has stains, and I've seen some stuff, they automatically calculate in their head triple whatever it's actually going to cost.
oh, okay.
So they walk into a room and they, oh, this carpet in the bedroom. How much, by the way, how much do you guys think replacing carpet in a master bedroom, how much would it cost?
$400.
No, well, if you
Depends
use
on the
it like
quality of the
cheap carpet,
You're not doing it yourself. You're hiring a company to come out and put the carpet in.
$1,500.
yeah, 15, that's my guess.
Probably
So I had
$1,000.
it done recently.
It's like 800.
Okay, so you're depending on the carpet and the padding that you
Yeah.
choose, and whether or not the furniture is going to be moved out of the room, or their company has to do it for you. You're running somewhere between $1,000 and $1,500, depending on the level of carpet. I've done it for less than that. I've done it for a little over $700, depending, right? A buyer walks into that room and says needs new carpet. It's going to be like probably $3,000 or $4,000 to have that done.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I know.
That's just the truth,
Yeah.
right? They come in and the rest of the house is brand new paint. And this wall, right here, has scuffs and holes and a thing. And that's what they see when they walk in. Oh, the whole house has to be painted. Now let me ask you a question. You've got a 1,500 square foot house. How much would it cost to have the house painted on the inside? You hire a company to do it.
It is
$3,500.
yeah, it's around.
Okay?
It's around.
What do you think a buyer would say?
$6,000, $7,000.
$7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 to have the house painted.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
This is a thing. I've
Yeah.
sold a lot of houses, gang, and I'm telling you, this is the mindset.
Yeah, you're right.
So when you offer an allowance, here's what the buyer sees. Oh, it needs $5,000 worth of flooring. Well, they're offering a $2,000 allowance. Oh, well, that won't even cover it. So let's go ahead and offer them $5,000 less and ask for the allowance and just see if they go for it. You just took a $1,500 cost and cost your seller $6,000. Now, it could maybe be negotiated, but the bottom line is a $1,500 check is going to be more. It's going to cost the seller more than $1,500 to come to an agreement with that buyer.
Right.
Now, have I ever had a situation where a seller just flat ass couldn't do it?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes. So what do I do in that case?
Get a shampooer.
No. Well, yes. Depending on whether the shampooer will actually help.
Right. Maybe.
If the shampooer will help, I do that plus something else.
The credit.
What do I do?
If the seller can't pay for it up front, you do the credit if you have to.
That's same as allowance.
You,
Huh?
Credit is just pretty much same as allowance.
The allowance, yeah, the allowance at the end
you
of the
tell
sale.
the seller how much less he's gonna get for the property.
What do I do? What strategic move do I make to ensure I maximize my seller's selling price? You're right. I go to the carpet store and I have them come out and I have them measure it and I have the estimate and a carpet sample and I put it in the bedroom, estimate taped to the sample, up against the wall, and in the MLS I say, seller will have the carpet replaced during escrow. Done. Now, that objection is handled. Buyer comes in, carpet needs to be replaced, and the agent can say, but they're going to do it. And here's the sample of the carpet, and here's the estimate to go with it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what if I don't like that carpet? Well, I'm sure we can ask them for you to choose the
The
carpet.
color, yeah. I had one agent say whatever color they want, they can put it in.
Right? And then the price no longer is the issue.
Yeah.
Right? Now, that's not the greatest way to do it. The greatest way to do it, because what are the three things that sell a home?
Price, location, and condition.
So the better the condition, obviously, the buyer is going to see the price,
Yeah.
the condition, and they're going to relate those two things together. And if the carpet is already done and the paint is already done, by the way, the one wall, it never gets overlooked. So don't fall into the trap of, well, it's only one wall. By the way, my sister-in-law's house in Rialto that we're listing next weekend, one wall in the house needs to be painted. I said paint it. The baseboards all need to be painted. Paint them. Because the small things like that, they add up. The buyer sees it and says the whole house.
Right.
All you're doing is chunking down the amount of money that your seller's going to get. So you condition it properly. The buyer's going to see, wow, this house is ready to go. I can just move in. Okay. So give them what they want, I guess. And there's really no objection. What leverage do they have over you? If you have commission breath and all you want to do is put a sign in the yard and get something on the MLS, and you don't tell them the truth about this, are you upholding your fiduciary obligation to them?
No.
So number one, on your marketing, is to price the home competitively. So that's super important. So if you're not going to do condition, then you day game well better do the price.
Yeah.
Yeah?
So is this why you have the contacts for painters, carpet people to advise to get it done quick?
Yes, sir.
Because I was talking to a lady, it's been a few months, I was gonna call her back, but that was one of her things. Well, I'm not sure, I'm gonna have to paint. I gotta do this. And then it sounded like it's gonna take a whole nother year for this
So
lady
by
to
the way,
do it.
that's another objection you have to overcome with your sellers. They are going to feel very overwhelmed by what has to be done. The
Right.
painting, the carpet, because they think they have to do it all.
Yeah,
So you can assure them, right? We have preferred vendors, okay? So there's other agents in the office that you can go to and you can ask, hey, who do you use for this? And who do you use for that?
yeah,
Can I call them, right? So get your list of vendors that you're gonna use,
yeah.
right? And then have a conversation with them before you go on a listing appointment, right? Make sure that you can call them and say, okay, I can line these things up for you. Now you gotta pay the bill, but, right? Do not take money from your seller, please, for the love of Pete. Don't accept money from your seller. Do not allow them to pay you. Here, Joy, how about if I just don't want to deal with this. How about if I give you a check for $10,000 and then you just go do the work?
That would be.
Your contract.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
Now, I could go get the work done. I do that. Matter of fact, that's one of our niches. That's something that Michelle and I offer that only a few agents in Ridgecrest offer, is that we will manage the project for you. But we don't take your money. You gotta pay the vendor directly. And you're gonna contract with the vendor directly. You're gonna sign their agreement saying you hire them. You're gonna meet with them. I'll be there in the meeting, right, when we talk about the carpet and the paint and all that stuff. You're gonna sign the agreement and you're gonna pay them. Then I'll manage it. I'll swing by the house every day before I go into the office and make sure that the progress is the way it ought to be. I'll swing by on my way home and make sure that it's coming together like it ought to be. Right? I'll do that. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
But don't take their money. It's against the law. You can't do it.
It's against the law, what?
Because it's not your money. And you don't have a trust account and you're not.
Oh, I get what you're saying, to take their money and then pay the people.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Now, you as an agent, can you do the little bit of painting on that wall yourself and get paid?
And get paid? No.
No?
No.
Because there would be like a dual relationship.
No.
So if I wanted to go.
For many reasons, Mike.
So I have a heating and air conditioning business, so if I can't fix their air conditioning?
Okay, so here's the thing.
Easy contract.
So let's be clear.
That's where I'm looking for.
Let's be clear.
If you're building out the entity.
You don't want to paint the wall, okay? And you don't want to fix the door, and you don't want to do these things up front, right? Because you are now removing yourself as the professional realtor into a laborer.
Right,
okay?
yeah,
You're, in their eyes, they don't see you the same. So that professional relationship is a little diminished. And
Got
it's not the same anymore. And we all think that they see us as a jack of all trades and looking out for them, and no, that professional relationship is a little bit, I can paint that wall for you and I'll only do it for $400. You know what they're thinking? He doesn't have enough houses to sell.
right,
And you're thinking, I'm just gonna do this to help you. Now, it'd be different if they didn't have the money and you hired your buddy for $400 to go and paint it for him. That's different. Now you're the professional. You're solving my problem. Does that make sense?
yeah,
The difference between those two things?
yeah,
The other thing, the other reason is it breaks your fiduciary. For you to get paid to do it. Right? So you have a heating and air conditioning company. You can have them hire your heating and air conditioning company to come out and fix the air conditioning. But you better have an affiliate disclosure document signed. Like you need to disclose it in writing, have them sign it and bless it and love on it. That they know that they're paying their agent for more than one thing. That you're benefiting from that company coming out.
right,
In my opinion, I stay way away from it. We have an agent in Ridgecrest who's been in the business for a very long time, and her husband is a contractor, and she has him do all the stuff, and it's like, man.
One of these days.
And you know what happens? Something goes wrong, and then we get
It's
the
the
phone
whole
call. We
thing.
get the phone call saying, yeah, well, it was shady anyway, because she had her husband go replace the sewer line.
yeah, yeah,
Bottom line, just stay within your
Yes,
goal.
your scope.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
You're a project manager,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
manage the project.
yeah,
It doesn't mean go out and paint the wall. Now, have I ever gone out and painted a wall or fixed a door? Sure.
Not to be paid.
At the not for payment,
Yeah.
not for payment. But we're getting ready to close tomorrow. The guy didn't do what he was supposed to do. And the buyer is like pissed about it, right? And normally I can get somebody out. I just call and I'll even just pay for it, right? And whatever. Just moveon.org, whatever, just get it going, right?
right,
But sometimes I've had a couple of situations where so I go home, put on my jeans, go out and do it. I mean, I used to have a handyman business for 8 years, so I can do most of this stuff, but they don't know that, right? So yes, at the last minute, I've fixed the ceiling. I have fixed a water heater closet door. I have painted a wall. I have installed a toilet. You know, but over the years, like in 20 years, it's only like 10 things.
right,
Because most of the time I will call my vendor, I'll call my vendor and say, hey, I need a favor, this is what I need. Good?
good, thank you.
Advise sellers on how to attract buyers by showing their home in the best possible light. That goes to condition. Place for sale signs with property flyers easily accessible. Now, I personally don't believe in flyers, but you can do that if you want. Respond to all buyer inquiries immediately. When?
Immediately.
Immediately. Optimize the home's internet presence by posting your property in the Keller Williams listing service. So that happens automatically now. Market the home on multiple websites. That happens now automatically. Post the home on your branded KW app. That happens automatically now. Create flyers and comment cards for viewers of the property. So I always like to have something on the inside of the house. A flyer. I don't like flyers. I like brochures. 3-page, trifold, full color, cardstock brochures. Fanned out on the counter. They have a takeaway. Distribute just listed notices to the neighbors. Big time. Target your marketing to activate real estate agents who specialize in selling homes in the neighborhood. Include the home in your company and MLS tours. Yeah, okay. That's old fashioned, we don't do that anymore. Create an open house schedule and market the open house. Target active buyers and investors in your database. Yep, I went there, I said it out loud, and it's in black and white. Real estate is a contact sport. Call through your data. It's another excuse to call your sphere of influence. Hey, I just wanted to let you know, Sue Haley, I just listed this new house over on the west side of Palmdale. It's in the Gotti Estates, and it's a beautiful 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom. It's 2,600 square feet. It's got a pool, and it's only $515. Do you know anybody looking for a house that wants to live over on the west side? It keeps you engaged with your database, keeps you top of mind with them, and you may end up drumming up a buyer for yourself. Or a listing.
Seller.
Are you with me?
Yes.
You got it, say aye.
Aye.
Yes, last week I did that, and it was a client that a friend that I had not talked to like in 2 years.
Yeah.
And something came up in her community, and I know she's renting, she wants something in there.
There you go.
And she was very happy that I reached out to her to let her know. So
Provide the seller with weekly updates.
do that.
So how often will you be reaching out to your seller?
Twice a week.
Twice a week.
Twice a week.
Monday and
What are
Friday.
you doing on Monday?
Tell them about the
Tell 'em.
activity of the open houses on the weekend.
Yep. What are you doing on Friday?
Marketing.
Market it down.
Market update,
Provide a CMA.
a little CMA, a little mini CMA, and having that conversation about the market so you can get a price reduction if needed.
Let's do it.
Okay. You got any questions, comments, or concerns? Yes, Joy.
You were saying 11, we don't do it anymore? Why is that? You don't.
It's old fashioned. The board does tour homes, but fewer and
Isn't
fewer
that called a
agents are
caravan
showing.
or something?
Caravan, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Fewer and
You know,
fewer
I
people
see.
are showing up for that. It's not really a thing much anymore.
Oh, okay, so now.
There was only one
11
house
is,
this week.
What caravan type of thing?
That's
is.
caravan.
Caravan
Yes, it is
stuff.
caravan.
Well, do you think, does everybody know how to do number 5? Optimize or?
You don't have to do it anymore. It's done automatically for you.
Oh, how do we,
You put the house in the MLS and it happens.
oh,
Boom.
okay.
I'm serious when I say it happens automatically for you.
Yes.
Like you literally do nothing.
It's less work.
It gets posted on.
It
hundreds
gets
of different
posted.
sites.
Everywhere.
You put the house in the MLS, it happens.
Okay, what about number 6? Market the home on multiple websites.
It happens automatically for you now.
Oh, are we allowed to mark on this?
That's your book.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Go for it.
It's just gotten better.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's your book.
You go to Redfin, is there. You go to Realtor.com, is there. You go to True.
Automatically.
What, so including number 7? Post the home on your branded KW.
Already done automatic.
Oh, okay.
It also gets.
So did you
posted
guys
on
miss
other
that?
apps.
I'm thinking we missed it. So number 1, you price the home competitively.
Yes.
Number 2, we advise the sellers on how to attract buyers by showing their home in the best possible light. That
Yes.
goes to condition.
Yes.
Number 3, you put for sale signs out.
Yes.
Yes.
Number 4, respond to all buyer inquiries when? Immediately. Optimize the home internet. That is done automatically.
Okay.
Number 6, market the home on multiple websites. Done automatically for you by KWMLS or KWLS.
Oh,
Post on the home on your brand app. Done automatically for you by KWLS. Create flyers and comments card. I said I like brochures instead. Right?
brochure?
A brochure.
What's the main difference between flyer and brochure?
A flyer looks like this, with some pictures on
Oh, and then like you want to try.
it. A brochure looks more like this,
Okay, yeah. But what the
and it's full color, and it's a heavier paper, and you have something that you take away that you don't want to throw away. Flyers are throwaways. People take flyers, they look at it for a second, and then they go.
Yeah.
But if you print a trifold brochure in full color on cardstock, they feel guilty for throwing it away. They eventually throw it away, but it sticks around in their car for a week or two.
He knows it.
That's true. Just a little tip. Just listed notices. So this is great. In your command, you can go to designs, and you can do it. You can create a design for a postcard and send it out to the neighboring areas. How do you find out who the neighbors are? Title company, right? You get a hold of a title company, you sit with them, you tell them where the listing is, how many addresses you want, and they'll provide those addresses for you.
Knock, knock, knocking on neighbor's
Can I do
door.
that for, another office?
Not for another office, but for another Keller Williams listing, yes.
Say that again? Open house? For another office?
She can do a just listed postcard for another Keller Williams listing,
Oh.
as long as Scott Cooper is the broker. Target your marketing to activate real estate agents specialized in selling homes in the neighborhood. So that's where this is big. We get on the phone and we talk to other real estate agents.
Yes.
Hey Maxie, I noticed that you were showing homes over in the whatever area. I have a new listing in that whatever area. So just wanting you to know I'm putting it on the market tomorrow. Whatever.
Now, I went to one of
How do you know
the-
somebody was showing homes there? Sorry.
If you're active in the market, you'll know that.
If you have a listing, it tells
If you have a listing,
lockbox as well.
if you have a
Or lock.
listing, if you're out showing houses and you run into each other, those kinds of things.
Not it.
You're not gonna always know. I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying, like you know, or you see in the MLS, like if you're looking at 10 houses a day, you're gonna see that Maxie K sold 2 houses in that area in the last, like her name keeps coming up.
Yeah.
I went to a CNA class at Gavar a few months ago. One of the things that I learned was you can do reverse prospecting by putting in your listing, and it will go to agents that have been looking at properties like that one, and it will send an automatically email saying, "Dear so-and-so, I see that you have been showing properties like this one, you know, I got
Right.
this listing on such and such place."
Exactly. Target your marketing to active real estate agents. We said that. Include the home in your company MLS tours. We really don't do that anymore, but you can. The Gavar still does have a caravan, so if you want to do that, you can. I'm just saying it's sort of outdated and fewer and fewer agents are participating in that. It is a great thing to do. It provides good camaraderie between other realtors. You get to get out and see the houses. You check off the box of previewing 10 homes that week. Create an open house schedule and target active buyers. Provide the seller with weekly updates. Okay, any further questions, comments, or concerns on the 14 marketing plan? All right, holding an effective open house. Part of your marketing strategy and one of your 14 steps in marketing is going to be providing an open house. What's the purpose of an open house?
Exposure.
Exposure, what else?
Leads.
Get leads. Get buyer leads, get seller leads. Your seller really appreciates it because it gives their listing, their home, exposure to the marketplace, especially if you do it correctly. Now, let me ask you a question. You decide on Friday that you're going to do an open house on a home on Saturday morning. So you go out Saturday morning, you put a sign out in front of the listing, you open the door and you go in and you sit down at the kitchen table. Is that a proper way to do an open house?
No.
It is not. It is not effective. Let's watch a video Keller Williams provides to you on an effective open house.
Hi, I'm Chris Suarez, and Step 1, strategically select the home you want to hold open. Choose a home that gives you the greatest potential to have buyers and sellers find you. This might be a home that is in a great traffic pattern, whether that be car traffic or people walking by in walkable neighborhoods in your community. Select a home around a local event where neighbors or even out-of-town people might be stopping in. Step 2 of holding an effective open house is advertising and marketing. Marketing begins a week in advance of any open house. Begin by posting internet ads a week before. Get a sign in the yard and let neighbors and passerbys know that the home will be open later in the week. Remember to contact both by phone and email any internet leads or phone calls you received on that listing prior to the open house. Don't forget to make 50 calls around the home prior to the open house and door knock, a radius of about 2 or 3 blocks. Step 3, know your scripts. Know where you're going to say to greet the visitor. Know what questions you're going to ask while they're in the home. One of the greatest first lines you could use is, "Thanks for stopping in to tour my open house. Are you one of the neighbors, or are you out shopping for a home today?" Immediately you'll know if you're dealing with a potential buyer or a potential seller. Step 4 is keep the right mindset and prepare. Remember, open houses are lead generation activities, so enter with the mindset of a top lead generator. Prepare yourself with comparable properties, market research, at least 2 or 3 other homes that you could potentially show should the opportunity arise. And step 5, always follow up with every lead that comes through that door. Call them, email them, write thank you notes that same day. A simple follow-up script to use directly after an open house goes like this. "Thanks for stopping into my open house this morning. It was great to meet you. I did a little bit of digging in the office after we met and after the open house and found 3 other properties that I think really fit your search criteria. I know the home that we saw this morning wasn't quite perfect, but these 3 have some real potential. We could get into them tomorrow at 4 or at 6, which would work better for you. Great, let's meet at my office and we can go from there." My biggest aha when doing open houses is remembering open houses are not a technique to keep current sellers happy. In reality, open houses are great lead generation tools to connect with potential future buyers and sellers. By using effective scripts and systems leading up to the open house and great follow-up techniques after the open house, you'll build a Met database of future buyers and sellers. Thanks for watching KW Connect and make it a great day.
Make it a great day. All right, what'd you think?
Good.
Great information.
All right, give me your ahas.
I like the scripts.
Yeah.
Okay?
I think those were effective.
Okay?
I really need to get out early in the week before the open house and do more marketing of the open house.
What else?
Put this, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I just put the sign several days like on the house before so people know that there's gonna be an open house during the week.
All up to you.
What kind of sign would you just put just your open house sign?
Open house sign.
And just put it out front and just put a date on it or something like that?
And hours.
It's like a coming soon or.
What?
The date and the hours, like 10 to 2, for example. Or your phone number and they can call you and ask you, "Oh, what time is the open house?"
And it said how many days ahead?
A few. So you want to make sure that you've got lots of signage. How many signs per open house should you
20.
have?
20.
A
10.
minimum of 4, right? A minimum of 4. A minimum. You want to be prominent on street corners. That's going to bring in traffic, right? What are the 5 senses that people are accustomed to? What are the 5 senses?
Sight,
Smell, sight,
Smell.
touch. Smell.
touch,
Hearing,
Right?
sound.
So what would it look like if you appealed to those senses during an open house? Do you think that would make people feel more comfortable?
The baking popcorn thing?
So what would it look like if you had, so we got a little popcorn machine that we put, it's small, it's like this, and it's got the wheels on it like at the carnival and the whole thing, but it's small.
Ah, popcorn.
And the jar of popcorn, right? And then just put it in and make popcorn, and then we got these little shaker like flavor things that people can put on their popcorn if they want. So we make popcorn at the open houses. We put it out on the counter along with the thing. So it does a couple of things. Number one, it gives the clients the popcorn that they never take, by the way. Nobody ever takes it. But they always comment on it, and it smells the house full of popcorn, which is what I want. And that's better than putting a Scentsy on or something like that. It enhances it even better.
Cookies?
Huh?
Cookies?
Popcorn is actually a more,
Stimulator for your nose.
I can't
Homey.
think of my word. I'm tired. I can't think of my word.
It's the smell
More
most
home,
related
right.
to home.
Yes, right. Cookies would be great too.
We just had popcorn the other night, it smelled up the house, wonderful.
I know, it's so
I was
awesome.
like, where's the movie, what are we doing?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Exactly.
It's like automatic.
Make popcorn, have music playing, don't have rap. Have something that don't have country, don't have rap. I mean, it depends where you're at. In Ridgecrest, you put on country because that's what they listen to. But maybe some jazz or something. But have some music playing, not loudly, but just like in the background, right? All the lights on, all the shades drawn, the blinds are open,
Windows, yeah.
right? Windows, an iPad or something set up to where with the app pulled up, where they can preview homes. Is a great idea right there. So they can look at houses that are in the area, right? You're appealing to sight, sound, taste, touch, all of it. Smell, you're appealing to all of those senses. Okay? And you want to make sure you have at least 4 signs and one in the front. It's great to have flags out in the front. You can get those flags for I think $45.
Those tall ones that
The
they put
tall feather flags.
Yeah.
You can put those in the yard.
Or let's get
Sometimes they're tricky out here with how hard the ground is, but you
Right,
can get
just
it, man.
depends, right?
You can get it, man.
And then also the door knocking. The door knocking is the biggest piece of the puzzle, you guys. You cannot have an effective open house unless you're door knocking around the open house. So that would look like what?
A flyer of the home with the open house date and time.
Yes.
Address, and don't put the price. Have them call you, have your phone number there, and then just approach them with the.
Why don't you put the price?
So they come in.
You want them to come to the open house.
They're curious.
They're
What's
curious.
that
And then you
price
knock on
thing?
the door, and what do you say when you knock on the door?
Good morning. I just wanted to invite you at my open house that I'll be hosting this coming weekend. At such and such a time to at this address.
All right. What's another way?
Have it like an invitation, so like, hi, I'd just like to invite you to my open house I'm having this weekend. If you'd like to view the home, it's a different model from yours, and just see
Okay.
what other homes in the area kind of look like.
Okay. I like the spin. What else?
You can always ask at the end, do you happen to know anybody that may be interested in moving this community, that you would like them to live over?
You could, right? You could also say,
Pick your neighbor event.
my name is Nico Estrada, and I'm with Keller Williams, and I represent your neighbor, the Rodriguez's down the street. I don't know if you realize, they put their house in the market. You may have seen the sign in the yard, but I do represent them, and I'm having an open house this coming Saturday between 10 and 12. And I wanted to invite you because I thought you might want to see what they've done to the place, see the pricing, just kind of see the condition. And just want to invite you to come down and see the Rodriguez's house. And by the way, if you happen to see, it is on the market, and sometimes we find that things can go south. If you happen to see any strange activity around the house, my phone number's right on the sign, or actually here's my business card, and it's also on the flyer that I just gave you. Please give me a call with any feedback that you might have. If you see anything strange going on, or just call the police directly, that would be probably the best thing to do. And if you have any real estate needs or whatever, my number's on the flyer. I'll be in touch. See you Saturday.
And do you evade the question, so what is the price?
Oh, if they ask me, I'll tell them.
I really like that you add, like you assign them something to do. Like, could you monitor that house for me?
So that's a great door knocking tip
Yeah.
that we, besides the open house. So I like that first piece. So if you're doing the open house, you can do that, like incorporate it with your speech. Because I think what it does is it shows that person who's opening the door that you care, right? And you're taking care of your client at a little bit higher level than just trying to get them to list their house for sale, right? Get you as their client or whatever, get them as your client. So I think it provides that. So I like doing those in two different settings. I like going door knocking around the neighborhood and introducing myself as the agent representing the Rodriguez is down the street. And if you see any strange behavior, please call the police and or me, depending on what that might be.
Now, if it's not your listing and you're doing an open house, can you still claim to be representing the Rodriguezes?
Well, my company is. My company is, because that's true.
Okay.
Scott Cooper's got all the listings. Okay.
Or can you introduce yourself and say that I'm raffling off a big screen TV? Would love you to come
Yeah.
along and try to.
Absolutely. If you're going to do a raffle, you can do that. Right. I wanted you to partake in that. You're the neighbor. You should be one of the folks that's involved in that.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns around open houses? When should you reach back out to the leads?
Right away,
Right away.
same day.
Straight away. And what do we mean by straight away? Like, when is that even?
The next day.
Right
He
after
said same
you-
day.
right after
The
you-
video just said same day.
Same stinking day, baby.
Same day.
You
An
may
hour later.
You may want to prepare the time sheet cards as they leave.
You're calling them on the phone. Hey, JB, Drew Hawkins here. We met at the open house over on Grande Way. I know this particular home was not necessarily what you were looking for, but I was tooling around the MLS after you guys left, thinking about you, and I did come across 2 other houses that I thought would fit the bill for you pretty well. You've got some time this afternoon where we can meet and go see those houses? Okay, how about tomorrow morning? Would that be better for you? Perfect. Let's meet at 123 6th Street at 4 o'clock. It gives you some more time to build that rapport and get them to the buyer consultation. Yes?
Yeah.
If you wait till Monday, you're done. You're just like everybody else, calling them on Monday morning from a Saturday open house. Hey Bill, this is Drew over at the we met at the open house. Just wanted to see if there's anything I can do for you. Nope, I'm good. Okay. Well, do you know anybody who's looking to buy or sell? Nope, I'm good. Okay. Do you see how that falls flat on its face?
Yeah.
Because they already got those calls from someone.
They already got the call from the realtor, or they didn't. But you're no different than the other 12 people that called him already this morning.
Yeah.
So why do they care? What sets you apart? What do buyers want? What do these people want?
To be taken care of.
Okay, but what does that look like? That's vague. What do they want?
Outstanding customer service.
What do they want?
A home.
They want to go look at houses. They want to, it's simple. They want to go look at houses. Buyers want to go look at houses. And they're out. It's Saturday afternoon, it's Sunday morning, whatever. They're out with the fam, looking at houses. What better time to show them houses than when they're already out looking at houses? When you walk on a car lot, does the salesman stay inside and call over the loudspeaker, "Hey Mike, after you get done looking at that blue Fusion, if you want it, come on in and I'll sell it to you." They don't, when they come out to greet you, do they say, "Hey Mike," or "Hey, my name is Bill, so you're looking at the Fusion. Awesome, here's my card. If you have any questions about the Fusion or any other car we have on the lot, give me a call." Is that what the car salesman does?
Nope.
What does he do?
Walk away from you.
Hey, would you like to take a drive in this thing?
Yes! Let me get the key.
keys.
Let me open this thing up. Let's start it up for you. Get the AC going. How long you been in the market for a car? Right? Why do we do it so different? If I'm on the car lot looking for a car, what do I want?
Car.
But what do
Test
I
drive
want
cars.
to do?
You wanna drive
I want to
cars?
see cars.
You wanna
I
drive?
want to open doors. I want to sit in seats. I want to smell leather. I want to drive around in the car. Right? I don't want to just have a conversation about the sales guy. So the buyer of a home is no different. They want to see houses. They want to smell paint. They want to smell freshly cut grass. Are you with me?
I want to smell popcorn.
They want to smell popcorn on their new TV, in their new living room, on their new couch that you sold them. Yes. Are you with me?
Yes.
Yes.
Does that make sense? Are you going to
Yes.
change the way you interact with people at open houses now?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns around open houses? Communicate with sellers. How often should we communicate with them?
We try to.
Twice a week. On Monday and Friday day. And what are we doing on Monday day?
The activity is.
Recap of activity. What are we doing on Friday day?
Market update.
Market update. Gee, I wonder why Drew's bringing this up so much.
Swear I'm doing it.
Because agents don't do it. They put the house, they have commission breath, they put the house on the market, they get the sign in the yard, and then they don't talk to their client until they have an offer. How do I know this?
Wow.
Because it's the number one complaint according to the National Association of Realtors. That's
Oh, wow.
why. Because we as realtors get busy doing other things, and we don't provide our current sellers the A1 customer service that they deserve. We're too busy out trying to get the next deal. That, by the way, some of the things that we're doing to get the next deal are not even a good, best use of our time in the first place. And we're ignoring the one we got in hand. For the love of Pete, please call your sellers twice a week at least. I always give them a text or email update after a show when I know something. And if I don't know something, I say I don't know something. Okay? So it's Tuesday, and I've already talked to them on Monday and given them the update, but it's Tuesday, and Mike shows my listing. And I get the notification from my lockbox being open. And so I send Mike a text. Hey, how did your buyers like 123 Main Street? And Mike doesn't respond to me. So Tuesday evening, I send a text out to my seller. Hey guys, I just wanted to let you know that when Mike showed the house earlier today, I didn't get any feedback, although I asked him. And I didn't hear anything back, but if I do hear something back on how the showing went, I'll let you know. It shows my seller that I'm working for them,
Right.
that I care, and it also shows that I'm superior to Mike. Because Mike didn't even bother responding to me. Mike's unprofessional, Drew's professional. Right? I've gotten a few listings over the years that expired, not because I was proactively calling the expireds, because the expired people called me, because I showed their home and provided feedback when they asked for it over their own listing agent. I sold 124 Jacqueline Court now for the third time because of that. There was a Coldwell Banker agent who had that house listed, and I showed that house 3 times, and Hank would not, Hank doesn't, to this day, Hank does not use a cell phone. I mean, he has a cell phone, but you're not, the girls at the front desk are not allowed to give it out. Right? I don't even have Hank's cell phone number. 20 years of knowing this guy, I don't even have a cell phone number, right? So his client, I don't know whether his clients do or don't. I don't know the answer to that. But what I do know is that his clients on Jacqueline Court reached out to me, Drew, how did the showing go? How did your buyers like it? I haven't heard from Hank. So I answered the question. And then I showed it again. So then they didn't even bother asking Hank. They just asked me. So I gave them the feedback of what my buyers thought. And I never even sold the house, by the way, right? It just went expired. Listing went expired. They called me. Hey, so you seem like the most interactive. We want to list it with you. Okay.
Wow.
Happy to do it.
No problem.
No problem. And I sold it, double-ended it. And then I sold it, double-ended it again. And then I just sold it again. I didn't double-end it this time, though. So you just, like, you never know, right? By being responsive.
Oh, because you double-ended it, so the buyers chose you when they were getting ready to
Right.
sell.
Why did the buyers choose me?
Because you were good.
You answered, you responded.
No, actually. I mean, I was, but that's not why. Why did the buyers choose me to list their house when it came time? 6 years had gone by the first go-around, by the way. 6 years had gone by from the time that I sold them the house to when they called me to list it for sale.
You were on top of mind,
Why was I top of mind?
because you had contact with them, relationship.
I did have a relationship with them. What did I do?
Kept in contact.
I kept in touch with my sphere of influence. Right? They were a past client. They are now in my database. They are a part of my sphere of influence. And they got an item of value every month, and they got a phone call and a personal note for 6 years.
Every month.
Every single month, they got 3 touches. And so what happens, of course they're going to hire Drew when they go to sell their house. Now, have I lost some? Of course. That goes along with the business, right? But I keep more than I lose. But I lose some.
It's key.
I just lost one. High end, too. All right, page 22, communication checklist, communication tips, follow preferences. Always ask and learn about your customer's preferred communication. This is vital. If they want to do text, then do text. If they want to do email, then do email. If they want to do phone, then do phone. If they want you to come over and have a Corona on the porch, then do that. I told you yesterday about my client who, his preferred method, come over, sit on the patio, and have a beer with me. That's my preferred method of communication. Okay.
That's funny.
Yeah. And I saved the domino of 3 houses doing that.
And you buy it again?
What do you mean you saved the domino?
They were selling 2 and buying 1.
Selling 2 and buying 1.
Yeah, they were selling 2 and buying 1.
Wow.
So, and there was an issue with the financing because the son, he co-signed for the son on a condo in Valencia, and the son, like we were in the middle of escrow, and the son missed a payment in January. This is February. The son missed the payment in January, so the credit reporting agency reported in February. We were about a week away from close, and of course the lender caught it and said, you know, what's this about? And he's like, I don't know. So then we had to prove that the son was the one who was responsible for making the payments. And how do we do that? By showing the son's bank statement history of 12 months that dad never was making the payment. So we did that, and then there was not quite enough income. Now the underwriter was no longer comfortable with the son being responsible for the payment on his own. So now wanted to make sure that dad could cover both. And the ratio was too high.
Yeah.
So we had to come up with an extra 10% down on the new house, and they were buying a high-end home. They were buying a $500,000 house.
Oh, wow.
So,
Wow, 50,000.
yeah, so another $50,000. And so I called him on the phone, I said, this is what's going on, can I come over? And he said, sure, but I'm out of beer. And he was very disappointed. So I stopped off at Albertsons and I picked up a 6-pack of Corona and a lime, and I drove over to their house and I walked in and I said, I picked you up some beer, and he's like, thank you. And then we went out to the back porch and we drank some beer and we talked, and in the second beer, he said, and in the first beer he had said, no, he's not gonna do it. This process is just, by the way, he had cancer, he had stage 4 cancer, he was 70. And so what they were doing is, I'm telling you a story that is longer than you probably want. But what had happened is, you got 2 sisters. Sister A's husband passes away. This married couple says, why don't you move in with us? And she says, the house is too small, we're gonna be on top of each other. Let's go find a house with 2 separate master bedrooms. So who do they call?
You.
And why do they call me?
SOI.
Because
SOI, because I stayed in touch. Now, I had not sold the Zukowski's a house in 15 years. It was one of the first houses I had ever sold. One of the very first houses I had ever sold was the Zukowski's. And 15 years later, who do they call?
Ghostbusters.
Me.
Oh.
No, because Ghostbusters, they didn't do a good job. I did. So I say this not to pat myself on the back. I say this to make a point. Keep in touch with your sphere of influence. They want to hear from you, and they will continue to give you business.
Right.
So we find a home for the Zukowskis that I had listed. Oh, by the way, with the 2 separate master suites,
Oh, wow. Nice.
$509,000, 2 separate master suites. So we put the house up for sale for sister, whose husband had died, and that house sold immediately. So now she's moved in and living with them on the Amanda Courthouse. They're living there, right? And we're in escrow. And this whole thing comes up and is falling apart on us. And now they're all living there. He has cancer and is gonna die. So they're thinking the sisters are now gonna live in the new house together, right? This is the idea. And so he says to me during the first beer that it's too much stress, it's overwhelming. The sisters talked about it and decided that once I'm gone, there'll be enough room here for them and they'll be fine. They're just gonna stay here, so just cancel it.
what did you
So when that beer hit the bottom, I reached over and grabbed 2 more. And we just kept talking it through until $50,000 left his bank account and we closed. So had I called him on the phone and didn't come over with the beer, we would have canceled.
Yeah.
What actually
What did you
shifted-
say?
What did you say? Besides
What did you say to dump 50 grand out of this man's pocket who's dying and doesn't
You know what happened? In the middle of the I'll be very transparent. In the middle of the second beer, we've grown kind of fond with each other, right? And I have a very good relationship with my grandfather, and I miss him. So anytime I have an older man, I tend to bond with them.
Yeah.
That's just a very natural thing. I discovered that in myself. So that's the kind of relationship that we were getting. So he asked me a point blank question. What's the financial backlash for you, Drew, on this? And I said, I don't want to answer that, Jim. I don't want to answer that because it shouldn't be a part of your decision. You got to do what's best for you. And he said, well, I know that and I'm going to. And I really just want to know what the financial backlash is for you. And he said, I know how much I'm paying in commission, but I don't know like how much you actually get and what that does to you and your family. I don't know that. And I said, well, it doesn't make any difference. It doesn't matter. I don't want to share with you the financial. It doesn't make a difference. I want what's best for you. And he said, just tell me.
Oh, geez.
And I said, $38,000. And he went, whew. Well, I can imagine that no matter who you are, $38,000 would make an impact on your family. And I said, I would imagine it would, no matter who you are as he said, I don't want to do that to you. So I'll endure the stress and we'll do it.
Wow. That's great.
So here's another beer.
Yeah.
I did get a six
Let's
pack.
go number 3.
We still got 4s.
True story. That's what happened.
$38,000.
I don't recommend, I mean, I didn't want to say it,
Yeah.
but was I feeling it? Oh yeah, I was feeling it.
But at least he saw that.
And he was considerate about you.
He
And
was
thinking
considerate.
about you.
He was. Right.
And if you wouldn't have went over there and sat in that patio, you wouldn't have got that listing.
Correct.
And
So
I
the-
think that showed a lot to him what you did.
Explain the 10% again, the extra 50?
So his ratios were off.
What do you mean?
Because he had to support the Valencia condo and the Ridgecrest house. All on his income. Because his sister and her husband, by the way, he had a handyman business.
Okay.
That's how I knew him. So they didn't have much, he passed away, so there wasn't much income. There was Social Security and a little bit of a dividend check that they got from their 401k or IRA or whatever it was. So there wasn't a lot of money on the table for them. So it all was on the Fishers, who had money and had made good money, right? It was pretty much on the Fishers. By the way, the Zukauses had money. They were savers, so they had some money. But they were like all in. They had put like $200,000 down, like it was, so they needed another 50 to get the ratios where they would qualify for the loan.
The DTI.
The ratio was a point higher than it needed, or whatever I don't even remember now what it was. In today's world, it would be 45%, but I don't remember 6 years ago what the ratios had to be to make it work. I don't remember.
Yeah.
So whatever, whether it's over, and the only thing to get it to come down to where they can
More
qualify
money down.
is more money down. And he had it, and it wasn't the issue, it was the amount of stress that had been,
Just
selling
getting
and
that
buying a
down.
home is stressful for anybody. And then on top of that, older people, and then on top of that, cancer, and the loss of a loved one, like, overwhelming.
Yeah.
So that's what happened, is he got overwhelmed. So ask how they want to be communicated with, and then abide by that. And don't get so busy and forget about your client. Right? Take that time. If you've got a client that wants you to come over and sit on the patio and have a brewski with Drewski, then do it.
Yeah.
Take that time.
Is that patented?
Match the style. So you notice the match the style. So when I was sitting on the patio with Jim, not only was I having a beer, a brewski with Drewski, but I was also, he always sat with him. This is before I was huge. He would always sit with his legs crossed, so I sit with my legs crossed. And he would put the beer on the edge of the chair. And I put my beer on the edge of the chair. Right? You match the style. It makes people feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I actually did that with my sister, because she's buying that house. And
Yes.
she was really upset about the request for repairs. And so she came and she's like, Brandon, I'm really upset. And I just said, Megan, this is really upset, and I came at the same level that she was. I
Yeah.
was talking to her, I was like, yeah, that's bullshit. They do have to pay for that water heater. All of a sudden I said, but you understand that is a request, right? For repairs. And I brought the tone down, and then the entire tone of the conversation went down, and it was all level again. I said, it's a request for repairs. They can't deny your request. And then she was able to talk about it. But if I came at her, like,
Starting at that time.
yeah, starting
She
at that,
validated the feeling. The client wanted to be heard.
Tony Robbins talks
And
about
so
that.
right, it's the language of agreement,
Yeah.
right? So JB validated
Mm.
her concern and her feeling and emotion around it. And agreed with her. I get it. Connected, and then boom, controlled it.
What's that thing? The mirroring thing that he talks about, where you go and you
Mirror
take
match.
a drink. Yeah. And then eventually you're able to control the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So when Jim would take a drink, Drew would take a drink.
Hmm.
I was being mindful of what I was doing. And I was being authentic, but I also wanted to make sure that I was in control of the meeting. I mean, to be completely transparent with you, that $38,000 meant the world to me at that time. I didn't tell him the rest of it. That I had been dry for 3 months. That I hadn't had a sale in 3 months. And that I was making a decision to get a job or stay in real estate. I had one of those moments in my life where I felt like maybe God was calling me somewhere else because it wasn't happening. I had fired my coach, which was not smart, and that's part of the reason why I was spiraling down. I had 2 events that happened in my personal life that made me feel down about myself, and I was going down. And then the money, of course, the lifestyle doesn't change, so the money's going out, and it wasn't coming in. And the 38 grand was gonna get me flush again. And if it didn't close, I was taking that as a sign that God wanted me out of the real estate business. Because what was I gonna do? I couldn't make April's house payment. I couldn't do it. I was at that point. That's the last time that I was at that point, but I was at that point. And I used that as a springboard to never go back there again. And that wasn't the first time I had ever been there, but it was the last time.
Yeah.
And so, because I feel like that was like the come to Jesus meeting. Where that $38,000 of that Corona, this is why it's so fresh, and this is why like the details are so fresh. That was a defining moment.
That'd be a great story, and you call it the $38,000 Corona.
Yeah.
That'd be a great story.
I remember the truck. I remember like the truck that I had, where I parked it. I remember the weather. It was cloudy and a little bit chilly.
Oh, wow.
Should make a YouTube video.
It was
Yeah.
a Zoom meeting.
$38,000 beer.
Little TED Talk.
Yeah, little TED Talk. I should do that. Yeah, it was a big deal.
That was probably God telling you, you're a son of God,
Yeah.
you're not alone.
He's reassured me that many times.
Because
Be gone,
because
Satan!
he was asking you, what would that affect you in a way? So that was a moment.
That's a moment. That's a
I
God
don't see a
moment.
lot of people
Yes.
doing that.
Most people wouldn't.
Who would care, or what?
Most
Care.
people wouldn't. I had a deal here in Palmdale the other day. It was a referral, because I don't do business unless it's a referral. So I got a referral, and I was selling this house over on the west side, and the buyer just got, he just simply got uncomfortable with tree roots, but it made him get uncomfortable with the whole thing, and I wasn't able to control it. And his words to me were, "I know this is a bummer for you, Drew, and I know that this impacts you, and I just can't think about that right now. I have to do what's best for me, and I'm sorry."
Yeah.
I know, Brad, it's okay. Now inside I'm going, I need a pair of shoes.
That happened to me. On my first estimate, that happened to me. As soon as it was an older house or whatever it was, and as soon as the AC wouldn't turn on, and the guy, willing to come and fix it, my buyers completely, they're like, we want nothing to do with it. We don't even want to buy the house. We don't even want to buy a house anymore. Our entire mood has been switched. Like, they just found an excuse to get out, and they just went, rented, and he went and bought a truck.
Weird.
Oh, they went
Someone
out
bought
and
a
bought a
truck.
Oh.
Yeah, like they didn't want to buy anymore all of a sudden, and they were using, I feel like they were using that as an excuse just because the AC didn't work.
Weird. Always update your client. Be prompt. Never talk down to them. By the way, never talk down. A lot of we's and us's. We need to look at it like this.
Yeah.
How would that impact us?
I noticed you said
I tried-
that a
I
lot,
tried
and I
that
was
too.
gonna comment on that. You said we, and that makes you, and it sounded like we're together.
We are.
It's not you,
No.
it's we.
We and
That
us.
sounded good when you were doing that, I was gonna tell you. Yeah.
That language works. That's
Yeah.
we.
Yeah.
We are on a team. We are gonna get through this together. Right? I don't say, how does this impact you, seller? Is the truth.
Yeah, it's a team effort.
We are in this together. We are a team. Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep a log. Maintain a communication log is important. Decision maker focus. Always include all the decision makers. So anytime you need to. So I would talk to. I don't even remember off the top. I think it's Carol Fisher. Was that her name? See, I don't remember Jim's wife's name. Judy Zakowski, the sister. Jim Fisher, and I think Carol. But you know, Jim and Judy were the two decision makers. And Carol was the supporter. So make sure you include the decision maker in the decision, and always be enthusiastic and positive. An excellent customer experience will set you apart from everybody else. What are you gonna do? So always under promise and over deliver. So that's important. Under promise and over deliver. This is why in the expectation meeting, I tell my clients, we're going to have, give me 60 days to get it under contract. But don't be surprised if I sell it in a week, right? I want the expectation to be set. I'm gonna under promise and over deliver. It's gonna take me 60 days of marketing time. Now, what if they wanna price it over where I said to price it? That goes out the window. And I tell them that. Now, by pricing it at $415 instead of $399, I no longer can put my name to the 60-day mark. So I just wanna make sure, I don't want you upset with me down the bunny trail when it doesn't go our way. Well, that sounds like you don't even want to sell it. Maybe, if you're not bought into my price and what I want, maybe are you the realtor for me? What's my response to that?
Maybe not.
It's not me, it's the market.
Maybe I'm not the right realtor for you.
Perhaps. Perhaps, Mike. Perhaps I'm not the realtor for you. Now, you are the boss, it's your money. And I am willing to put the house on the market for $415,000. And I am very enthusiastic about and very interested in helping you accomplish your goal. And that's why I suggested $399.9. Now, you're making the decision to go to $415, and I'm telling you I'll do it. But I have to be the reality. I have to tell you the truth. What kind of realtor friend would I be? Professional would I be if I didn't tell you the truth? If I just sat here and told you, yeah, you can call somebody else and they'll come in and tell you what you want to hear to get you to sign the paper. But what kind of professional would I be if I just told you what you wanted to hear so you'd sign the paper, and then 2 weeks from now you're mad at me because we don't have an escrow? So you really think we should go $399.9, huh? I do. And you'll get it in escrow in 2 months if we do that? I will. Sign here, initial here. Press hard, there's 2 copies. Not anymore. It used to be something we would say. There used to be. Yeah, there used to be carbon copies. Telling them the truth. Looking out for them. Don't buy into their story. There's a difference between being a weak agent and a strong agent.
So what would be the time limit that you'd give them?
2 weeks.
No, at the higher price that they wanted to
2
go.
weeks.
Oh, 2 weeks?
And I put that in the listing contract. If in 2 weeks we don't have an offer, we agree to reduce it to where I wanted it.
Oh, okay.
We're in a fast-paced market.
Cause you don't wanna
By
be
the way, I
sitting on
showed that to
thing.
them in the presentation. I
Right.
gave them all of the information. I gave them the facts. They see that we're in a fast-paced market. So 2 weeks is it, baby. We're not waiting. What are we gonna wait for?
Right, yeah.
Now, when the market shifts, 2 weeks might be 30 days, perhaps. Perhaps, if you're in a buyer's market. But even if you're, matter of fact, actually, as I think about that, in a buyer's market, you would have to be faster at reducing the price. In a seller's market, you could actually be slower and be okay. Think about it. The more people you've got and the faster homes are selling, you could ride that out a little easier. But in a buyer's market, man, you almost don't even want to let it go 3 days. We're already going to have a hard enough time selling. Let audio and video match. What do I mean by that? If you say you're going to call twice a week, call twice. Please, for the love of Pete, call twice a week. If you say you're coming over on Saturday afternoon to drop off more brochures, please stop by Saturday afternoon and drop off more brochures. This stuff sounds so like simple, and it sounds like, why are we spending time, 3-hour class to talk about this? These are the things that people are not doing. You would think that these are simple, common courtesy, and I'm telling you, your competition is falling off the mark by these very simple things.
Right.
And you can create an A1 customer experience by simply doing that. I closed escrow on a condo in Santa Clarita 3 weeks ago. And so I reached out to my buyer, posted something on Facebook, and so that made me feel like maybe he was stressed. So I just said, "Are you doing?" I sent him a text this morning. Hey Steve, are you doing okay? And now I have 4 text messages. Yeah, why? Slam with all the slamming, right? So it's that, and I'll just reach out and I'll just say, well, I know you're moving and I saw the post on Facebook and I just want to make sure you're doing okay, right? I want it to know that
That you care.
why would I be afraid to reach out and say something? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I told him the relationship doesn't end at the close. So let my audio match my video, and after the close of escrow, I'm reaching out. By the way, this is the 3rd time I've reached out. I knew he was getting the flooring replaced in the house in the condo after we closed, so I asked, hey, did you get the flooring done? What's it looking like? He sent me pictures. All right, let's watch a video on a wow experience.
Hi, I'm Josh Bath, and I'm here to talk to you about creating a wow experience with your clients. Creating that wow experience with your clients starts right from the initial interview. When you're sitting down with them and you're listening to them and you're asking them good questions, that's really what sets you apart from the rest of the agents that just go in there and talk. The mindset should be not, what am I going to ask them next, before they've even finished their sentence with you. The mindset should be, what are you saying to me? A couple things that I do to establish a really good wow experience for my clients. I tell them that a photographer is going to contact them. I tell them that a home stager is going to contact them. And after that's done, I follow up with them. And I ask them, so how was your experience with my photographer? Now, I already know that the photographer I've chosen is incredible. And they're going to deliver great service the way I deliver great service. Except I get to use the service they use as an extension for the energy I'm creating with them in that wow experience. Once their home's listed, how I continue on with that wow experience, I just communicate with them almost every other day. And that communication is either by phone, by text, or follow up on an email. The advice I would give you if you're looking for a place to begin, sit down with a notepad and paper in a quiet place and just start writing out naturally in your mind everything that you do from the moment you sat in their living room to the moment you come back to the office and handed the file to your assistant. How are you communicating with them? What are you doing? These are all incredible steps to communicate back to your seller because normally they don't know what's going on. And if you're telling them what you're doing, you're helping them remove some of that fear and building confidence and trust in you, which is exactly what creates that wow experience. For people thinking that they need to do something big and as a result never doing anything at all, go back to small. It's not about being over the top and big. Sometimes wow is just following up with them when you said you were going to follow up with them. Or it could just be as simple as paying attention to some of their needs, like they don't have time to cut the grass. Maybe you might hire someone to cut the grass That'll blow their mind, and for you, you can hire a local neighborhood kid. That doesn't cost very much. Little things like that, though, go a long way for referral business and creating a customer for life. That wow experience.
You notice he didn't say you're getting your lawnmower and going and cutting the grass.
Had a little kid.
You're maintaining who you are.
It's all about image and branding,
Right.
right? Or brand,
Relations.
or I guess brand image.
And I understand why you might think it looks good for you to be out mowing the lawn, but it doesn't. Right? Do you get that, Mike?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Good.
yeah, I get that.
Good.
Thank you.
All right, on page 25, any ahas around the video before we move on?
Just reaffirming.
Reaffirming.
Just you don't have to do anything spectacular or amazing, just do what you said you were going to do.
Pretty much just say what you're gonna do.
And it
Meet the need.
It really is all the little things that you do. Those
It
little
is.
calls, the little stop by, the little things. Those people are like, wow.
And be responsive. You know, be responsive. Now, on being responsive, I want to address, this is important. We treat our clients, we teach our clients how to treat us. We teach people how to treat us. Do we not? So, if every time your phone rings, no matter what you're doing, you jump up, hey, the Sprint, right? What's that make them think?
You're always available.
That you're always available, right? So I know why you're doing it. You're doing it because you want them to really feel like they're the most important person right now. The thing is that the one time that you're in another listing appointment and the phone rings and you can't do that, you have now disappointed them.
Wanted to say, again, that happened with my sister. So I was doing that. She'd call me, oh, pick up the phone.
First ring.
Yeah, pick up the phone. And then the one time when her offer did get accepted, and it was the one time I was supposed to pick up the phone, apparently. I couldn't get to the phone. It was just a bad
Yeah.
time. So I texted her and said, I cannot get the phone. I'll call you later. She was like really upset, and I call her and she's like, what the hell, why didn't you pick up the phone? And she was upset because that was the one time
I had that
didn't
issue
pick
with my
up the
ex.
phone on the first ring or whatever.
So I'm telling you, I don't usually pick up. I usually will call right back. So even if my client calls me and I see that Bill is calling me, my seller, and I say, okay, Bill's calling me. And I let it go through and I finish what I'm doing. And then I will call him back. Hey, Bill, did you call me? I saw you called me. Now, here's the thing. Bill knows that I'm responsive this way. Right? But if I call him back in 10 minutes or I call him back in 2 hours, he feels that I'm responsive. And he doesn't get his feathers ruffled because he knows that I'm going to call him back.
Right.
And it's going to be in a reasonable amount of time. But if I every single time call and then picked up and then now I'm teaching Ignite and I can't for 3 solid hours, you know, I have 21 text messages, 22 now, 22 text messages, 6 calls, and 57 emails since I've been in here.
Now, what do you do when you
So-
get that and you just wanna go to class?
So here's the thing. Here's my point, right? If I treated each one of those, because when you're slow, you can handle bam, 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 bam. But when you're busy, there's no way, right? So now all of those people are good. I'm good. At 12:30, I'm gonna get in the truck and I'm gonna go home to eat lunch, and I'm going to one by one go through the text messages and respond and take whatever action, and I'm just going to work on that for an hour. And they'll all be responded to, and they're all going to feel like that I'm responsive. But you can't possibly teach these people that you're going to be at every whim, you just can't do it because you won't be able to forever. Does that make some sense? So sometimes I'll answer Bill's call. I'm using Bill because right now we're in the middle of a drama, so I'm using him. So or Kyle, I'm on both sides, buyer and seller, of course. So when Kyle and Bill are calling me, and we have a thing we're working out right now, when they call me, I still look at it and my heart sinks because I'm dealing with a situation, right? But I'm still waiting. Even though I want to, because I want to solve the problem, I don't still. I wait. Now, sometimes I'll just pick it up. Hey, Bill! Right? But not every time. Does that make sense? I hope I'm not drilling that home too much, but I want you to understand, we truly do teach people how to treat us. We just really do. And here's the thing, if they're not okay with it, then perhaps I'm not the realtor for them. Right? In this business, in this awesome business that we're situated in, there really is no emergency that can't wait 2 hours.
Right.
Or even 3. About the only thing is funding. When you're going into funding and a problem arises, that is sensitive. Like they only have till 1 o'clock to make wire. So if you've got a problem and it's 11:30 in the morning and Ignite goes till 12:30, then yeah, I probably better step out and take the call because it's the escrow company calling me about the funding. Like, okay. Hey, Drew, I don't have evidence of insurance. I need to have that in order to make my wire. Okay. State Farm, hey, I need you to get that evidence of insurance to escrow. We're trying to make funding, right? Now I can come back in. That's about the only thing.
Right.
I got a request for repair in for my listing. Okay, that can wait 2 hours. I got a counter offer back on my offer I sent out.
So are you saying not to call right back just to let those people know that you're not going to be so responsive?
So it's subconscious, right? It's not like I'm actually saying to them, I'm never going to pick up your call.
Yeah.
It's that I'm teaching them up front that is how this mode of operation is going to be.
Right.
The MO is you're going to call me, and I'm going to call you back.
You're going to call back no
And
matter
I'm
what.
responsive.
Yeah.
What I'm teaching them is that I'm responsive. Because sometimes I'm picking up on the 3rd ring. By the way, never pick up on the 1st ring. But sometimes I'm picking up on the 3rd ring, and sometimes it's going to voicemail, and I'm calling them back in somewhere between 10 minutes and 2-3 hours. Right? Since I've been doing this role, it's longer. Because if I'm teaching Ignite and they call me at 9:20, I'm 3 hours before I can call them back. But when I was just selling houses, 2 hours at the most. Because if I was just starting a listing presentation, I'd be out of there and then I'd call them back on my way back to the office, right?
Right.
But if I'm sitting in the office and I'm working, and I'm in the middle of sending an email, and they call me, I see it and I finish my email. I don't let them interrupt my email. And then I call them back when I'm done. I might even check 2 or 3 more emails. Send 1 more out. I'm in the middle of uploading into SkySlope, and I see that they call, and I finish what I'm doing so I don't lose track in my mind of what file, what paper, and then I call them back. It doesn't get me off track, and I'm not being reactive.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Oh,
Does
yeah,
help?
that makes total sense.
Now, sometimes, when I'm driving to Ridgecrest on Friday morning and Bill calls me and it's me in the open road and I'm not on the phone with anybody else, yeah, I'll answer it. Right? It depends.
Yeah.
All right, how many of you have put together your listing presentation? We talked about that a week ago. Still nothing over here. What's it gonna take before JB turns in a listing presentation?
Just gonna make it my one thing.
Check out
When are we
Michael.
meeting again next, JB?
I haven't set my appointment
Okay,
for next
so when will you set the appointment with me?
today, right after this.
Okay, and will you have your listing presentation completed for me to see when we meet?
Yes.
Okay, there you go. Mike, what's it gonna take before you get a listing presentation put together?
I have just a script on it,
Okay, what's it gonna take for you to get a presentation completed?
means I know what to do.
You guys went through that on Monday.
He
We
wasn't
went
here.
through listing
I wasn't
presentation.
He wasn't here.
But I do have the book.
Oh, you weren't here.
I have the book though, but,
You weren't here. Okay.
so I need to just review that.
I didn't know that because I didn't teach Monday's class.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Alright, gotcha, okay. Alright, so Haley, do you have a listing presentation? Okay.
Yes.
Maria, do you have a listing presentation?
I have done listing presentations, I don't have a formal listing presentation.
So what do you use if you don't have a formal one? Do you change it up every single time, or what do you do?
Well, first I do my comparables, I print it out, I email the comparables to my, client, and then I put that on my, my laptop, and I show them the comparables. I have a printout of the, profile of the home, and then I cheat, I put it together, I show them, and then I go over.
So there's no presentation around your value proposition
No.
and what you'll do for them and that kind of thing?
Well, I just
I do for you.
tell them that I do this, that, I verbally.
Do you feel that that works well for you, or
Well, I
would you
think
like to
I need
enhance that a
improve
bit?
it. I need to improve it,
You need to improve it, okay,
yeah.
alright. So, we're gonna be doing, the class Win the Seller, or Win with Sellers, Win with Sellers. We did the first one yesterday, and we're actually gonna be doing, we only got up to the pre-listing package, so the next class we do, which I think will be in 2 weeks, if you'd like, I'll put you on the email list and Ashley can send you an email when we're gonna do it. But we're actually gonna do the listing presentation in our next class.
Oh, that's great. Yeah,
So if you'd like to attend that class, you can do
absolutely.
that. Okay?
So are we gonna learn everything, how to do that from that class?
Yep.
Okay. And from
It's
Ignite?
basically what we did on Monday in Ignite,
Uh-huh,
but in a more detailed, it goes into more depth.
so if I go back to Mondays and reread all that and go through that, I'll know what to do? and how to
You
do it?
will,
Okay,
you will.
good, I'm gonna get started on
Yep,
that.
and
Yeah.
then, when you see me
Yeah.
next week and you get into coaching, I will give you I'll share with you a sample listing presentation
Oh, okay, perfect.
that I give to coaching clients.
I've got mine here if you want to take a look at it.
All right, what were your ahas from today? Yeah, please sign in, thank you, Savili. What are your ahas from today? We talked about staging the property, we talked about marketing the listing, and we talked about properly communicating with our sellers.
Sure.
What was the question?
One is that, now I know how to overcome objections when the buyers think that, oh, this wall, I don't like this one, or I don't like the house anymore.
Okay,
So
good,
I
good.
know how to overcome those objections.
nice, okay. Any other ahas from today?
Yeah.
Can we,
I had a
make
few.
green?
I'm sorry?
Can we pass it over when we go?
Oh, yeah. Oh, is this the
Right
other
away.
sign sheet right
No,
here?
that one
That was
is,
my house.
is this
That's
from
one that I use as a,
February.
it's from, yeah.
My alpha was calling right away. If you just
Calling
call-
right away.
Step out and ask him,
I need a question answered. Or
Okay.
or advice.
Yes,
Okay, so there's some clients that I was supposed to show properties to this Sunday. And I guess their son came and we were talking over the phone on Saturday really quick. And there was a misunderstanding with the wife and I.
It's not
I
all
told
the
her
way
I can meet you guys at the property at 8 or after your son leaves
Oh,
in the
yeah, so
evening.
it's done.
That's pretty cool.
And I guess she told me at 8 and I didn't called me that they were there or anything. I was awake since 7.
Right.
And, they just don't
Most of
know.
it is.
So if we're starting off wrong, then why should we move forward?
So what did you say?
Clients.
They are
I
past
called them,
clients?
yeah, I called
So
them.
you've done business with them before?
Yeah,
Okay,
like 10 years ago.
okay.
Oh, it's really, really long.
And I told him,
Call back
I
to
believe
us.
there's a misunderstanding, please give me a call when you have a chance so I can explain to you what I understood from your wife from the last conversation that we had. I know it was a quick
And then what happened
conversation.
after that? Did
He
they say
hasn't
anything?
responded.
Yeah, okay, so here's what I, if it were me, I would just take 100% full responsibility. I would apologize up one side and down the other, and I would send them to dinner.
For the walking.
That, if it were me, if I made that mistake, it would be dinner on me at Allie's. I've already called Allie. I told her you're gonna come. Just when you show up, say Drew sent me and dinner's on me, anything you want.
Okay.
Right? That's what, I don't know if you have a relationship with a restaurateur around here like that, but you know, whatever. Maybe you go to Broken Bit and you buy a gift certificate for $150 and you send it to them in the mail. I don't know. But I would say, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I misunderstood you. I'm not going to say it was a misunderstanding. They took no part in it. It was 100% my fault. I can't believe that I did that. I feel horrible. I would never want to intentionally do that. And I know that this doesn't even come close to making up for it. But just to show you my gratitude, dinner for the whole family on me, spare no expense, T-bones for everybody at Allie's. She knows you're coming. That's what I would do.
I can totally do that.
And by the way, they wouldn't even take me up on it likely. It's happened to me. Have I screwed up? Sure. I have made some mistakes, and that's exactly how I handle it. And by the way, I do an audio and video match. Like, not only am I telling them that, but I'm on the phone with Allie. Allie, I made a mistake. I need you to help me. This is their names. When they come in and give my name, anything they want, you tell me how much it is, and I'll come and pay you. Right? Right? And I'm on it, and I say, she knows, because I already told her, she knows. Right? And if you don't have that type of a relationship, then you go down and you buy the thing, and you give it, and maybe even take it up a notch if it's a gift card to send some flowers, and put the gift card in the, I don't know, go over to their house with the flowers and the gift card and a bottle of wine. I can't believe I did this. I'm so incredibly sorry. That will never happen again, I can guarantee you that. And they would feel that from you.
Thank you.
I would put no blame on them at all.
Okay.
I can't believe I did that.
Yeah, that's how I felt. Yeah.
Right!
When I got the text yesterday, like,
I would over. Okay?
okay.
Does that help you?
Yes.
Which number is pricing in the 14-step marketing plan? 14-point marketing plan.
What was the question again?
Which step is the pricing in the 14-step marketing plan?
Is that like number one?
Number 1.
Number 1. What are the 3 things that sell a home?
Price, condition, location.
And location. What are the 2 out of the 3 things you have control over?
Price.
Price and condition.
Yes. Any other ahas?
Monday and Friday.
Monday and Friday. I love Monday and Friday. Update day. I gotta go make my update calls.
Hit the 5 senses with your
Don't try to
houses.
do an open house, just planning it on Friday.
Don't do an open house planning it from Friday day. Right, do it a week in advance.
Okay.
All right, you have your mission for the upcoming weekend. Your 10-4. You're gonna do your daily 10-4, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
You're gonna go out and you're gonna see 10 houses. You're gonna go out in the world and see 10 houses. You're gonna make 10 contacts a day, right?
Yes.
And you're gonna write some notes. Yes?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right. You're gonna continue to practice your scripts with a partner.
Yes.
Okay. All right, and then we'll see you on Monday for session 7, Find and Win Buyers. We're going to talk about winning some buyers.
Always bugs me when I lose stuff.
The clicker.
Is it just that little small thing?
It's that little small clicker.
Okay, thanks, Drew.
You're welcome. Thanks, guys. Make it a great weekend. Hey, Hunter, how you doing?